Okay.
All right, so I would like to call the meeting of the Sanborn Regional School Board to order. It is 6:05 p.m. I apologize for being a few minutes late. If we could stand for the pledge, flag is right behind everybody.
Oh, can I start? Can I start?
Go ahead, you do it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I'll sing.
Yes.
Like shot out of a cannon today.
Oh.
Having a trauma response over here.
Yeah.
I know, she doesn't know what to do. All right, do I have any action on the minutes of May 14th, 2025?
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Oh, and before I forget, Ken is not able to attend. He is out of town on business. Okay, manifest documents are starting to go around. Bob, if you'd like to do nominations and resignations.
Well, there we go. We have 3 nominations. Jay Manzi to be a PE wellness teacher at the middle school, high school. Kira Reel to be a 4th grade teacher at Memorial, and Mackenzie McEachern, a 3rd grade teacher at Memorial.
Great, thank you. All right, do I have a motion to accept?
Second.
Great, thank you. All right, all in favor? Heather?
Oh, sorry.
Unanimous, thank you.
I was gonna say power move right there.
All right, resignations.
Resignations, 3 at the high school, Chris Casella, who's a solstice teacher, Jenna Grossman, a school counselor, and Jen Mitchinson, principal for the high school, middle school.
Thank
And
you.
also at the district level, Pam Casey, who's the assistant director of secondary special ed, and Kelly Killen, our human resources director as well.
Okay. Thank you for the update. All right, superintendent's report.
Yeah, I'm furiously taking notes here. The end of the year plan, just so people are kind of dates that are upcoming as soon as I find them again. Last day, excuse me, I almost forgot. The 13th, which is graduation day, we traditionally have a half day there to get, in particular, this building ready for the craziness and wonderfulness that is grad. Have a early release day. I shouldn't call it a half day. 13th. We also have the last day of school is an early release day, and that is on the 17th. And the last day for staff is on June 19th. So that's the sort of end of the year plan, some dates there. Looking at our open positions list, I was just counting that quickly. We have a whole bunch of people to hire, about 25 plus. And I talked to the principals and assorted folks yesterday, and we're well on our way to getting that done. We're starting interviews tomorrow, short interviews for the Bakey School principal. And Nicole O'Brien here at the high school, middle school has a list of like 10 positions in this spreadsheet, and she is, as usual, incredibly organized self on that. Mr. Larkham has a couple of people he's already kind of feels like he's going to go with at the Memorial, and I think just Memorial, but not yet Bakey. And so we're well on our way to getting those done. The middle school boys, I don't want to talk about that.
All you.
Thank you. Middle school boys track team was the division champions this year. So I'm going to be sticking another banner on the wall of the gym. Love that. They had a really good performance, and the girls were very, very close. They, I think, lost to, I won't say who they are. I'll be bitter like that.
It was only 6 points.
6 points. But they performed really well. They almost repeated as the champions there. So that's a good problem to have. Girls softball and baseball at the middle school level both lost close games, and Maya will probably talk about athletics a little bit. Okay. Hopefully she will. But things going well. Wanted to give a huge, huge shout out to everybody who helped out with the Division 2 and 3 track meet that was here this weekend. Anybody who lives anywhere near the school, I apologize profusely for the parking lot that I think the neighborhood's turned into. Probably the biggest athletic event we've ever run here on the property, and we had a ton of people volunteer to help out, which was really incredible, and just tons and tons of compliments for our facility. Way to go, Wayne Souther, and also just the things to put together. Most of that work this year in particular was done by Carrie Alley with a lot of help from Scott Maxwell. So wanted to give them a shout out as well.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Do we have any subcommittee? Jeremiah?
Excuse me. So the Facilities and Finance Committee met this evening. We had some lengthy discussions on obviously updates on our accounts and our account balances as a district to include our trust fund balances. And then we moved into prioritization of summer projects that are coming up within each school. We got through a portion of the district as well as our CIP plan. We discussed our facilities and how we're going to properly take care of them and be better stewards of our facilities for the taxpayer as well as those that utilize them. And lastly, we ended on a pretty lengthy discussion on the Siemens Energy audit and kind of where this is at in the phased approach and where we are headed, which there'll be further discussion in the broader group tonight. So we'll look forward to participating in that as well. And that was the content of our subcommittee this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Okay, so we will move on to the last student council representative report, number 1, Thompson. If you'd like to.
That's so sad.
I know.
Is it crazy to say that I like the school board? Like I like the meetings. Like
Meeting.
it's the meetings.
Meetings.
The only thing that would have made the meetings better would be cupcakes.
Cupcakes.
I told you weren't going to live that down.
So maybe don't have a meeting on the day I have a playoff softball game.
I know, right?
We had a lot of meetings this year, but okay.
Phyllis did say that she would get them for me. So talk to her. Okay. Anyway, no more nonsense. Next week this Friday is the final day for the seniors. They will be having the yearbook dedication and getting their caps and gowns. And then next week is full of fun for them. They are going to New Jersey Monday and Tuesday. Thursday's the baccalaureate, and then Friday's class day and graduation. And then tomorrow night is the sports awards for all the seniors and the NHS inductions for the incoming juniors. Blanking. A huge congratulations to all the members of the track team who made it to New England, right? Meet of Champions. There are 7 of them. So huge congratulations to them. That's kind of all. Unless Dawson thinks I forgot something.
Oh, I think it's worth mentioning that our my athletic director had on. The girls tennis team had the best season in school history. They were 13-1 during the regular season. They were 13-0, and lost a very close match to Kearsarge, who lost a very close match to the undefeated number 1 seed earlier this week. So they had an amazing season. Big shout out to Coach Sam Parsons, and he's assisted by Jerry Wolbert. They did a great job, and it was. What I found really great in the Kearsarge match is they were playing a team that was better than any team I'd see them play all year, and watching all of the girls really step their game up. It didn't end the way we wanted, but they stepped up for the tournament. So that was, good to see. The baseball season is over, and softball unfortunately dropped a close one today to Campbell. So they won't be advancing in the tournament, which is too bad. And over the last month, we've also had our pitcher, Phoebe Hood, cross over the 500 strikeout level, second player in school history to reach that level. She's a junior. Wow. So she will go way, way beyond that. Yes, Miss Thompson, you look like.
Another thing I'd like to announce is that Summer Campbell was elected the Southern District President of Student Councils. Woo. So huge congratulations to her. Actually, a little introduction. Summer is sitting right next to me, and she has been elected your new school board representative. So over the next year, you'll have to deal with her.
Poor Summer.
No, she's great. She's going to do great.
She will do great.
Do you have anything?
I told her she has some loud shoes to fill, Maya.
Wow.
She's gonna have to learn to be louder.
I know some of the process from the budget committee. So I think I'll be able to get it down.
I think you will. I think you will. You can always reach out and ask questions.
Maya, it's been a pleasure having you as part of the board, getting to know you. You are a breath of fresh air. You're fun, you're energetic, you're smart, and you're gonna do great. And I wish
No crying.
Ditto.
I can,
Same.
Thank you, Maya.
thank you,
Thank you.
Maya.
You've brought laughter to this.
You have brought a lot of laughter and we.
Even if you didn't bring.
I think we're meeting again in 2 weeks. Maybe you could.
Is it? We might, we were
Yeah, thanks.
gonna talk about meeting again in
You're
a,
happy.
So it just wasn't on.
it was not, no, we might have to add a meeting in a
Oh,
couple.
it's the
Well, that would
cupcake.
be really dramatic. If
So-
like, goodbye now and then I back in.
But it would be an optional, it would be an
I'll bring the
opt-in.
cupcake.
There you go.
Be
You
a
could bring
dramatic
cupcakes.
fashion for you to leave.
There better be like presents going, Maya bannered. I'll be expecting it if I'm bringing a cupcake.
And also welcome to summer.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Summer.
Nice to
Thank
have you.
So much for stepping in, and taking on this, I think I said, super fun, really boring role. I think is what I said, when we did Maya's, scholarship is, yeah, it's super fun.
Number one Campbell.
She could be number one Campbell because there are two.
Yeah.
So she could be number one Campbell. Yes, so you could be number one. All right, well, thank you, Maya. We appreciate you, and Summer, we're very excited to have you join.
welcome, Summer.
Welcome.
All right, so we will, I think if we're done with that, we will move on to first public comment. And just to remind those that have not been here before or haven't been watching online, during public comment, we run the meetings under RSA 91A, and in section 18974, it discusses public comment. Public comment period shall be for no less than 30 minutes. School boards may request that persons register in advance of the meeting, but may not require pre-registration. We do not, as a condition of participating in the public comment period. School board may impose reasonable time limits for each speaker. We have a 3-minute per speaker time limit. Provided such time limits are equal for all speakers, we set a timer. Nothing in this section shall restrict school boards from establishing other reasonable standards for the public comment period, provided those standards are imposed equally for all speakers. So we do request that everyone that comes up to the podium states their name, the town they're from. We do reserve public comment to those that are Newton, Kingston, or Fremont residents, or if you do not live in the town, but you have a seat in the district, or you are a staff member, you can get us. School boards may reasonably restrict public comments that disclose student personally identifiable information, teacher personally identifiable information, or other confidential or privileged information. So basically, public comment needs to be kept to generalized statements. No identifying details about students or district employees' names can be used. This is to protect the individuals that are speaking from defamation lawsuits, and also to, if someone does try to speak about, one of these things, the board has to stop it, because we then can also, if we allow it to continue, we can also be liable. So because this is a public meeting and it's being, we have the responsibility that is followed. And I think that was it. I lost my spot on my things. Rick.
Yeah, no, I just want to make a motion to waive the third paragraph of policy BEDH and section 1 of policy BEDH, which is public participation at board meetings. And I'll continue to do that until the policy is revised.
Okay. And what is that? And that's the time limit?
Time limit. And the second one is, it says that people can comment on current school district matters only. And that has been improperly interpreted by somebody that used to be here as it had to be on the agenda, which is false. And
So I don't think we need to waive it because we decided that it allows them to speak because it doesn't.
it's not accurate. I think we should waive it, but
Okay, that's fine.
my
We
motion.
can, okay, fine.
Thanks.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous?
Good to go, yeah?
Yeah.
Joe LaValle from Kingston, New Hampshire. 3 kids in the district. Coming up because I found out this morning that Denise Bondi is not going to be coming back. She was, what's the term? Not rehired, not non-renewal. That's it. So I put something out today on social media, and it seems like most parents want her back. From what I understand, she would like to come back as well. I'm going to read this thing that they put in the yearbook. So Bakey recognizes and honors Denise Bondi for her dedication to our students and our community. Miss Bondi helps to have engaging assemblies and promote the importance of cares through music. Her Music and Me program has been a wonderful opportunity for students and families to participate in the arts of music together. Our Bakey School cares about you, and we would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all that you do. So I think we have more people here tonight that also would like to speak to find a way to keep her in the school district. I know that we are down quite a few teachers and other employees. So, yeah, see who else would like to come up and try and keep her here.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
Good evening. My name is Cara Dame. I have a son at Bakey. I'm a resident of Kingston, New Hampshire. And that is one of the reasons why I came tonight. I've also been trying to pay more attention to things that go on. My son is a 2nd grader here. And Miss Bondi has been great for him. I would like to know if there's a reason why she has not been asked to come back, or her position's being eliminated. What's going on with the music program? I was a music student from 4th grade through graduation. I think music is an incredibly important part. The arts are very important. And I feel like the arts is one of the areas that kind of gets forgotten about within any district. And that's alarming to me. My son enjoys the music program. I can't see why we wouldn't re-sign her. I'm not really sure what the correct terminology is, but if somebody can answer what's going on with that, it would be helpful to parents to understand why, if somebody who wants to stay, again, with so many open positions, why there seems to be such a gray area.
Fortunately, we can't answer that question. That's a personnel matter. The board has no control over the personnel. So we can't give you an answer on that. But if you'd like to reach out to, building administration, superintendent, they won't be able to share a ton of information because again, when it comes to personnel, they can only share so much, but you could have conversations with them about it. They're the ones that ultimately make the decisions.
Okay, fair enough. I would just like to point out, like you said, the Bakey yearbook was dedicated to her. And I do think that that speaks volumes about that individual. So
Clarifying question. Does anybody have a copy of the Bakey yearbook by any chance?
Joe's got it.
Could I have it, please?
Maybe
Thanks.
a copy on the machine.
We could take a picture of it with our phones. See, we're
So new age.
pretty advanced here. Can I get that? No, I mean the page where it says. The cover's real nice, but I'm.
Take a picture of every page of the
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, there's another page in here. You want to take a picture?
No, go ahead.
No, they are.
We can move it along.
Rick, you want that?
We can't comment.
I guess if you can't say whether or not why she's not staying, what is the future of the music program at Bakey?
We have not cut the music position.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and we can, that general question about about the strategic direction of the district is something that we can certainly answer. And I think as a board, we have, and anybody can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a recent potential that we were going to, for a music position to be cut. And all the members of the board, if I remember correctly, fought to keep that position.
Yeah, we unanimously supported to
Unanimously
keep it.
decided to keep it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I can only speak for myself, but I can assume based on conversations that I've had with other members of the board, that we believe in the arts and the music program. And honestly, I think we're punching way above our weight in terms of student population and the kinds of things that come out of the concerts, the choral concerts, the band concerts. For the size of school that we are, we're really, really good. And we all believe that we have a really good thing going in music, and we don't want to lose it. So.
That it's good to hear, but I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to be in her classroom with her music and me. It is a great program. The kids interact very well with her. I would hate to see her leave the district. I think she is an asset to the district. And I wish that the board or whomever is in charge of that decision would reconsider.
Just for clarification, the board isn't, we don't make that decision, but we definitely value the input from the community who have children in the classrooms and have firsthand knowledge to share with us. The person that is in the room that makes that decision, I think that's very valuable.
Hi, I'm Jeff Flanders McDougall. I'm a long-term Kingston resident. I've had 3 children go through the district. I've been a substitute at Bakey School for 15 years. Would be 17, but I was out for 2 years because of COVID, and I'm immune compromised, so I could not be here. When Nancy Fisk, who was the music teacher, left Bakey, that was a hard act to follow. Denise Bondi overdid it. Out of the ballpark. How someone could say that she is not worthy of that position? Wrong. They have not been in there. To my knowledge, she's had 1 review in 3 years. There's something wrong with the process. Something needs to be fixed. I think you all know there's a shortage of teachers. I have a degree in elementary education. With the state of education right now, I would have a hard time telling young girls and boys that's an avenue to go. When I was seeking my degree at Plymouth State, I never looked at it as a high-paying job. I thought it as a calling. I really enjoy it there. I've told many people, my husband will say he knows if I've been to Bakey School or not when he comes home from work. If I'm in a good mood, it means I was at Bakey School. If I'm not in a good mood, it means I didn't go to school that day. When I walk home from school every day that I'm there, I always say to myself, what could I do better? How could I handle different situations, working with different children? Up until COVID, I was the #1 sub at Bakey School. So I knew 99% of the students. I knew all the teachers. First, second week of school, I would always be put in the classroom if someone was absent because I knew the students. I don't have that knowledge now because I was gone for a few years. But I do have the knowledge of staff. And Denise Bondi should not have been terminated. Somebody needs to think this process over again. And for her to be told we have a reason, but we're not telling you, shame on that person. I also am concerned about the Bakey community. Being a substitute teacher, nobody has talked to me about how we're moving forward. I used to say I'm just a substitute. That's how I feel right now in this district. I'm just a substitute because no one has said, you need to do this, we need to do that. I've been around long enough that years ago, I did call the state on a parent who was abusing a child. And when I called the state, I was asked, do you want to give your name? And I said, whatever benefits the child the most. This parent was a police officer, but I still took it upon myself because the accusations the child made, I needed to report it and I would do it again. But I've also been in this position that paras have said, oh, I really can't say something about this staff member because I need my job. That's sad that they so feel that if they were to report something to their supervisor, they could lose their job. I know there's some kind of training going on, but again, I'm a sub. No, nobody's telling me anything. And I'm not asking questions because I don't feel that that's my responsibility. But as far as getting a new principal and assistant principal at Bakey School, if you're planning on having them start in August, who's on the committee to be searching for this? The community needs to be involved. And by the community, I don't mean the people that are in that building. I mean the whole community of Newton and Kingston whose children go to that school. We need to be involved. And this has not been happening with the superintendent that just left. Prior to that, there used to be meetings at the school, and they'd have the big piece of white paper. What are you looking for in a superintendent? What are you looking for in a principal? We don't have that. Why? We need to be involved. Do you know that most adults in our community, if they do not have students at Bakey Memorial, they don't know that we now have a lower elementary and upper elementary. Why? Because the district doesn't tell them. What happened to essential news? The only essential news I see is from the superintendent when he wants money when we're voting. No, we need to report the good and the bad. How many people know how great our basketball team was this year? Unless you're someone like me that follows the NHIAA and I look at it almost daily, you don't know that stuff. Why? Because we're not getting that information out. Well, shame on our schools and shame on the school board. I don't want to hear there's not enough money. If you can find money for other things, you should find money to make sure we're getting out the good and the bad. And our students are doing wonderful things, but we're not promoting it. That's enough.
Thank you.
Couple questions for you.
Yes.
First of all, I didn't get your first name. I apologize.
Jeff, J-E-F,
Okay. And
Flanders-McDougal.
yep. And just one thing that you said that was a little alarming to me, and I just want to, before I ask the question, I just want to say that it's going to have to be verified because it's secondhand information, and I can't trust. No disrespect what you're
Oh,
telling.
I understand that. No, that's
Factual.
fine.
Yeah, I don't want to. Please don't get insulted.
No, I'm not.
But you did say that, to your knowledge, she's had one review in 3 years, and I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
You did hear that correct.
Okay. So, and again, I'm saying I can't. That's going to have to be verified, but I find that alarming.
Me too.
Yeah. And I don't know if you want to comment. I'll just make one comment because I think collectively as a board we've discussed there's a lot of work to do. And we need people like you and the people in this room and others to step up with ideas. We don't have all the answers.
And I'm not saying you, and I realize you are volunteers and you get a lot of fingers pointed at you.
Yeah, no worries about that. I mean,
That's what we volunteer.
yeah, we were elected to do that, right?
Right.
The pitchforks are expected. So, but what I will say is, we have had discussions about engagement with community members and teachers and people in these interview processes and changing that up because we don't disagree with what you're saying.
And more transparency and
Yes.
communication.
Yes, exactly.
100%. And I don't think it's a question.
No, you have your work cut out for
Yeah.
you. But every day I go into Bakey, I say it can only get better now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if we all move forward with that in mind, I think it will get better, but it is going to take a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of time.
It is.
And if you have ideas on how we can communicate, we no longer have to get out town news.
Right.
Limited ways to get information out there. So if you
I do think you need a newsletter at least 4 times a year.
if
I
you-
know it's expensive to mail those things out. Maybe you could see how many people would sign up to do it online. But
Direct mail.
the aging population is not going to learn how to get online when they're 75 and 80 years old. I wish they would. They can go to the library and learn how to do it, but a lot of them are set in their ways. They don't want to change.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sam Fahey from Newton. I got 4 kids in the district. I moved to this district about 5 years ago. Like I said, I have the 4 kids, so I'm busy and I'm not always here, but I do always watch the meetings afterwards. And in those 5 years, I've seen a theme that has been talked about a lot, and that's the retention of teachers, and that's how do we attract quality teachers? How do we retain quality teachers? We talk about turnover rates all the time. This isn't just talked about here. It's talked about on the sidelines of soccer fields and at Greenie Park and Town Beach. It is a big deal for everybody who has kids and even those who don't in this district. So that being said, a few months ago, we did stand here and explain to you guys, I know you guys were all on board, about how important the UA programs were for our students and how we all as a community came and wrote letters and spoke here. Even like a fourth grader came up and spoke about how important these programs are. As far as I can tell, Miss Bondi is an excellent teacher. And I'm saying that not just through Music and Me. I am in the schools all the time. I see her interact with kids at concerts and, you know, assemblies, and she was being a complete goofball at field day, explaining how to do the egg and spoon relay race. The kids love her. The parents love her. She is, as far as I can tell, seems to be very trusted by all of the children that I've seen interact with her. I think that cutting Miss Bondi to replace her, because I know that it's been posted with another teacher, wouldn't be great for either the students or our district. We talk about retention. That is not something that would promote a secure environment, working environment even for the other teachers that we do wish to retain. And it's not a great way for us to like attract quality teachers. At this point, it's going to be teachers that are green or right out of school, and we're going to end up being staffed mostly with new teachers or teachers who are too old, who are close to retirement, and it's just too much of a hassle to switch over. Education is like nursing. I'm a nurse. So I'm saying that in the idea that it is vast, but it is yet also very small. They talk. They know. Before anybody's taking any seasoned teacher is taking a position here, they're talking about it with the people that they know. They're going to find out things like this, where we take an excellent teacher and cut them for what seems like to the community monetary reasons. Sanborn in general right now, it's me every time, and Bakey in particular, does not have the best reputation at the moment. I don't believe that taking an excellent teacher out and replacing with an unknown teacher would be in the best interest of anybody. And I hope that we can, you know, readdress that renewal.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marcus Harold. I'm from Kingston. Have a daughter in kindergarten, a son in preschool. This is honestly the first I knew that she wasn't getting renewed, Mrs. Bondi. I'll just say she's awesome. She invites one parent of each of her students to come see the class. It was awesome. I got to be the lucky one to go. She also is the only teacher I know that actually emailed, I want to say 2 or 3 times this year on how good the kids were at lunch. Just a random, update on the kids. And I haven't seen that from any of the other teachers. So just kind of echoing what everyone else is saying, that she's really awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marcus.
Hi there. I'm Stephanie Hasselbeck of Kingston, and I am here to advocate for the renewal of Denise Bondi's contract. Our family has 4 children in the Sanborn district. We attend the Bakey School, Memorial School, and the middle school. Mrs. Bondi is woven into each one of their lives on a regular basis, whether it be in the Bakey School music class, before school band, or her support for all of the district's music concerts. We have seen firsthand the positive impacts of her thoughtful curriculum, understanding of our children, their needs, and their behaviors, and not to mention her musical skills. We clearly had to divide and conquer tonight. Otherwise, my other 3 children would be here to speak. But my 12-year-old wanted me to share that Mrs. Bondi is professional, fun, and silly. She makes learning fun, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're learning. She has a very unique and interesting way of balancing fun with learning. She is always able to brighten everybody's day, and also always steps in when someone needs help. Our 10-year-old talks about how she is an important part to our before school band practice and our concerts. Our 8-year-old lights up when she calls Mrs. Bondi her teacher. At home, she regularly shares the artful, tuneful, and beatful material that she has learned over the past 3 years at Bakey. Jeff mentioned Nancy Fisk. Nancy Fisk was actually my husband's music teacher in Massachusetts. I actually took over her music theater program at one of the Massachusetts schools, elementary schools. Whoever was replacing Nancy Fisk had huge shoes to fill. And Denise Bondi has done an exceptional job. She exceeded all of my expectations. After attending Mrs. Bondi's Music and Me program, my takeaway was not only about how lucky our children are to have a warm and knowledgeable teacher, or about the dynamic material she's exposing our young musicians to, but how she is able to identify the children who need some extra bucket filling to keep them on track and the class flowing effortlessly. And within the parameters of her perfectly structured music class, she is able to deal with behavior issues before they even happen, while still providing an opportunity for our children to be artful, tuneful, and beatful. Behavior seems to be an area in which the Bakey School has struggled with over the past few years. However, this is a non-issue in Mrs. Bondi's classroom, as well as when she leads the school-wide assemblies. Our family could go on and on about all of the positive things we know and love about Denise Bondi, but I'd like to briefly touch on some other topics that are in our minds. Consistency and stability for our children, retaining teachers. Turnover is expensive, and also hiring and training new staff. We understand the many challenges, fiscal and otherwise, that the district is facing this year and next, and we need to carefully balance many priorities. This is more important now than ever to rely on the existing pillars we have in the classrooms, and we are so fortunate to have this in Miss Bondi at the Bakey School. I am asking you to reconsider the renewal of Denise Bondi's contract. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Megan Doggett. I live in Kingston. I have a 6th grader and a 3rd grader in the district. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for your dedication and for all the time you put in this academic year. I believe this district is so fortunate to have members on the school board that are parents. I came tonight to speak as the school year ends because I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about the 2, sounds like more than that, crucial leadership roles to be filled in our district. I'm particularly thinking about the superintendent and the middle school, high school principal role. I'm invested in this district's success, and I think it starts with leaders that are strong communicators, creative with solutions, and really good at managing change. My 6th grader, I believe, will be the first 9th grade class to start with no Fremont students. And this big change is coming, and it's unclear what that means today. And the unknown of that, to me, is what becomes the most concerning part, not the change part. And I have been thinking, because I can't not, about, is this going to be the high school that I can send my kids to? And I'm sure I'm not alone, and it's not what I want to think about going anywhere else. I listened to last school board's meeting online, and I listened to Miss Mitchison to do the wrap up of the year and how she reviewed so many things that are opportunities today. All the classes, all the electives, all the clubs, ELOs, sports, SST, dual enrollment for credits at multiple colleges that are all happening today for our high school students. And I want all of those for my 2 kids. And I don't know if that's possible. I did come with an idea, though. I came with an idea that I think next year, as a new superintendent and a new middle and high school principal begin in this district, I think we should start a working group that focuses on this one of many challenges, but this is going to be a huge challenge for our district, is what we are going to do as we lose a lot of students in our high school. I think it should be a cross section of people. I think it should have school board representation. I think it should have school administrator representation, teachers, parents, community members. I think it'd be a great way to drum up some of that community and like working together spirit that I keep hearing tonight and I've heard all year long. I think we need a group that's honestly going to talk about what are our financial constraints? What is going to be our priorities? What is going to be new, very creative ways maybe we can continue to do a lot of the things that happen today? And I think as our district's amount of high school students decreases, I really don't want all these amazing opportunities that I was talking about to change. I think also if they have to change, I think the sooner we start talking about it and the sooner parents in particular understand what that means, the better, because that eliminates that unknown. So I think either way, it'll be very productive to help make decisions. So I would really welcome the opportunity to have an active role in a group such as that, if that's something that can happen. And I want to thank you again and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Sam Olson. I'm a longtime resident of Kingston with a child at Bakey and another who will be there soon. While I don't have a professional background in education, I've spent many years working in marketing and design, making messaging clear, relevant, and actionable. My family will be a part of Sanborn District for the next 14 years, and I'm no longer willing to sit on the sidelines hoping for change. And I don't believe jumping ship is the solution either. That's why I'm here, to be part of the effort to rebuild our district. Rebuilding requires a solid foundation of policies and procedures. Our district has the building blocks of this foundation all accessible on the school board website, but it's clear we need a systematic overhaul to ensure they are truly known, understood, and enforced. Otherwise, policies become meaningless, and our schools risk failing to provide the safe environment we all expect and rely on. Today, I want to focus on one critical yet recently misunderstood policy that protects every child in this district: reporting suspected child abuse and neglect. Some staff have claimed that the policy requires suspicions of abuse to be kept in-house and reported only to a superior. This is simply not true. The policy, as required by the state of New Hampshire, clearly states that any suspected abuse must be reported directly to the Division of Children, Youth, and Families, also known as DCYF. It also requires the reporter to inform the principal or building supervisor, who must then also notify DCYF. When followed correctly, this results in 2 reports to DCYF, triggering an investigation and a follow-up. Although this policy, last revised in 2020, is clear and well-written, this is just one example of how misinformation is spread within the Sanborn community, and it resulted in employees delaying or failing to respond as policy required. So how do we stop the spread of misinformation? We stop it at the beginning. With improving how policies are presented to new staff, HR representatives must sit down with new hires and verbally review policies, ensure understanding, and offer opportunities for question and clarification. This process has been described by former staff members as rushed signatures on paperwork similarly to buying a car or a house. Very rushed and no time for questions. Periodic training sessions for all staff would also help, covering revised and existing policies and giving people a chance to raise questions. Key policies should be posted in workplaces as reminders, just like we see workers' comp law posted in break rooms. Given recent events and the obvious need for policy review, I suggest these trainings be held each semester. But policies alone are not enough. They're meaningless if they're not enforced. Enforcement requires an effective reporting system, one that checks to ensure those investigating reports of abuse, bullying, or harassment actually follow through. Any failure to treat reports with the utmost discretion and confidentiality creates an environment of mistrust and fear, making it even harder to speak up when it's needed to keep students and staff safe and accountable. The entire Sanborn community has a unique opportunity to learn from recent failures and right the ship. Whether or not you agree with the final findings, we've all been handed a report outlining systematic failures from top to bottom. Without enforceable policies and clear expectations that benefit all students, we'll continue to see a dissolution of integrity and suffer a collapse inward, driving away quality teachers, staff, and community members in the future. Our kids deserve better. The teachers and staff who educate and care for them deserve better. Let's work together to make that happen. Why else would you be sitting on the board or in the audience or watching at home if you didn't intend to be engaged and committed to working in an informed, productive, and collaborative way to improve the district for our children? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You wanna say something?
I have a question.
Clarifying.
Clarifying.
Clarifying question.
Clarifying question.
Yes, a clarifying
Go ahead.
question.
Sam, can you step back up?
Could you,
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Did you say in your statement that our current policy doesn't indicate that the reporting should go to DC?
No, it absolutely does. But there has been
There's a belief.
But there's a belief.
there is a
gotcha.
strong belief within the Beaky or Sanborn and the community that
Culture.
that is,
Yes.
it's stated differently. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I just have a question. I'm not sure if you can answer. Some of you stated that you were strongly for the arts. I'm also strongly for any of the specials that are offered. And I'm wondering what's happening next year with the library, with the media generalist, and also what's happening with art. I understand the art teacher is taking another position. Are we still having art at Bakey School?
So we funded
For next fiscal.
for next year. Art's fully funded, art, music, and STEAM are fully funded.
Correct.
And then we will have gym and live media specialists, but it'll be one teacher who will go between the two schools.
Why? They should be important enough that students are getting them. It shouldn't be like art on a card or, oh, you only get it once every other week or something. These are valuable things for students. And some students, it is the best part of their day. So if you can cue into a student that feels that way, you can
Yes. The one important distinction that isn't always clear when we talk about it is that the student experience of those things in terms of each student getting access to those things doesn't get impacted. What does get impacted, and we all as a board, we had to make very difficult decisions last year. We didn't want any of those positions really to be affected, right? But it ended up being that we were able to, what did we say? Art, STEAM, and music, those positions were funded such that the teachers for those things didn't have to go back and forth between the schools. For gym and library, the teachers will have to go back and forth between the schools. But it's not like students who were going to get one of those things no longer get it. It's just that the teacher is going to have to cover a little bit. It's not ideal, but that's.
So in the future, a year from now, will they be
We will have to,
in-house?
as Ms.
Yeah, we have to.
Doggett said, we are going into a future where we'll be losing significant revenue, and we are going to have to look at as a district about making some very tough decisions. We will look to see if next year we'll be able to reinstate them, but we are making decisions that are difficult.
Well, I also think you need to look at who is going to want to move into a district that doesn't offer those things to children.
They will
You
still
can't offer it on a full-time basis. Oh, well, you'll get it.
Every student will still get it. It's just being split.
The programming isn't impacted
This-
for student experience.
Every student will have gym, every student will have media. It will just, there will be a schedule to match.
Because it used to be we had tech and we had a media person. And then all of a sudden, the tech person had to be at both schools for 1 year, and then the position was abolished. So we have no tech person at Bakey or Memorial School, which shame on our district.
Well,
Who wants to move into a district with a young family that's not offering these?
yeah, let me just say this. You may not like what I have to say, and I apologize in advance. I'm going to say it. The board is charged with a couple things in my experience of 3 years, right? Past 3 years. To approve a budget, right? That will get approved by the voters. And I'm going to say it, and I'll probably be executed, but the majority of parents don't vote. And
Oh, you're totally right.
I thank you for saying that. So then you have an elderly community that do not have children in school that are being asked to approve an astronomical budget with a dwindling enrollment and with Fremont exiting. I heard the idea of a group to help us come up with ideas of what we're keeping and what we're not. Yeah, pretty pleased with sugar on top. Let's get the group, okay? Because like there are going to have to be cuts. And if you walk out of this room with one message, it's coming. I don't want to do it. Dawn doesn't want to do it. Moira doesn't want to do it, but it has to be done or else we don't pass a budget and we don't pass teacher contracts. So forget about attracting anybody. So like it has to happen. So I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but the reality is we need the input and we will make the best decisions with that input. But if we don't get the input, then we're going off of, you know, what we maybe think and what we hear from here. We need the parents' input to help us make these decisions.
Agreed. But I would say my children tell me I'm one of those elderly people. So,
And I didn't mean any disrespect.
no, I know you don't.
They get out and vote. God bless them.
But my feeling is somebody paid for my education. I have to pay for the next generation.
I agree.
Education.
And that is an amazing thing. And I wish more people were like that.
They should. I mean, people paid for mine. I mean, why shouldn't I? But the other thing is, for the last 15 or 20 years, we have been a very heavy administrative district. You're in the business, or we're in the business of educating students. The money should be going to your teachers, your paraprofessionals, your special ed support staff, not to the administrators. We need less administrators, not more administrators. And superintendent salary, now that you have the opportunity, slash it. Our superintendents, our past two superintendents have made way too much money. Brian Blake made more money than, I can't think of his name, Delahanty in Salem. Salem is a huge district. Look how many elementary schools they have. Look how big their middle school and high school are. And our superintendent was making more than him. Michael Delahanty started out as a teacher and worked his way all the way up to become superintendent. But we bring in superintendents, we give them sky-high salaries. No, it needs to stop.
Thank you.
Take a look and see what other administrators are making and cut these salaries. It's ridiculous what we're spending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Just to kind of follow up a little bit on what she was just saying, I think it's a pretty bold statement to say that we're going to cut some of these programs and have teachers drive back and forth between two schools and say that the quality of their education in these departments is still going to be what it is now. You've got teachers that are doubling the amount of students that they're going to have. It's going to cut in on their break time. Do we have to carry extra insurance for them to drive back and forth? Who pays for that? They're going to be exhausted with all of these extra students, less break time. If we have $500,000 that we can find in the budget to pay a former superintendent, don't we have the money to find the educators for these departments that are needed? It seems pretty obvious to me.
Can I say something to that? So there's a couple of things. Some I can't really comment on. One that I can though is that it's not extra students. I'm not asking an individual teacher for PE, for example, to double the amount of students. The reason this was even possible is because given the dwindling enrollment, having two distinct teachers in two buildings, they weren't teaching enough students. They were doing other things other than teaching classes. So it's not that one teacher has to cover extra students. This is an appropriate amount of enrollment for a given teacher. And I will obviously give you, I don't like the idea that they have to drive back and forth. My biggest problem with it was always what teacher is going to want to do that.
Correct.
Right? I'm looking for the exit door next year.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, it's not ideal. So I agree with you.
I mean, it may not be more students, but it's more grades. It's more programs. I mean, you're not having the same program for kindergarten as you are a sixth grader when it comes to the gym program. So now you're coming up with a whole new criteria for sixth grade than you are. So again, it may not be more students,
A greater load though.
but a greater load which again is going to impact the programs and the education that these children are getting.
Yeah, look, to Rick's point about passing budgets and et cetera, it wasn't ideal. And I recognize that there are shortcomings to that plan.
There absolutely is. And then, all we hear about is $500,000 to a former superintendent, but we don't have money for educators. It's alarming. And why would enrollment go up? Nobody's going to want to move to this district. I have a second grader. I'm looking at 10 more years. We have looked at private schools to send my son to. This is not the community currently that I want my son to be at. This district is failing our students, and this is another way that our district is failing our children. It's not the answer, in my opinion, and I know I'm not the only parent that feels that way.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment? I just kind of want to make a couple of comments. And one thing that I haven't realized, that I wasn't really being so wrapped up in the whole Fremont contract, was I've been thinking that the declining enrollment is at the high school level. It's not. It's at the elementary school level. And I think I can just tell you for myself personally, for the last few years, like, why are we cutting staff at these lower levels? Well, it is dwindling enrollment. The state of New Hampshire is having an issue. I believe they said, I met with the commissioner 5-6 years ago, and I believe it was 100,000 students that New Hampshire was going to lose. At that time, Sanborn was on the exact same pace as the state. So we are losing students, and we haven't been making cuts. You know what? Former superintendent would have had the top of his mouth how many students we've lost in the last 8 years. I don't know what that is, but my point is that we've lost a lot of students in that amount of time, and we've still had the same number of staff. I agree. This is not what we want to have happen. The other thing I want to mention is this is great that you guys are here, but also I want to let you guys know if you're not hearing the rumors around in town too, but we have people in this town who wants to close the school. We literally, I hear from taxpayers, close the doors, send our kids to Pinkerton. So I think you have to understand there's this whole other 75% of the town that doesn't have students or children in the district. So we're not doing things that we necessarily want. I'm just telling you that there's this whole other swing of the pendulum of parents or of people in the community who are telling us close the schools down. We're doing our best to try to keep everything afloat. And I understand that this isn't what we want. I also want to make a comment about the administration and the staff and whatnot. We did last year, we did cut a principal position at the middle school. So we are coming down on that, that staff. I think we're going to have one less vice principal, maybe.
Yeah. We'll have
So just to kind of get that out there, yeah, maybe we've been top heavy. We are beginning to see some of those positions. Last thing with the superintendent, I'm not going to advocate that it should or shouldn't have been, but also when you do compare salaries of superintendents and when you look at some of these bigger districts, it's often like, hey, the Exeter superintendent doesn't make as much. But also when you look at that, look to see if they have assistant superintendents. So we've only had one superintendent. So just saying it's not apples to apples to compare us to another district, unless you look at the fact that that's not all that they have. They have assistant superintendents. I do know that a couple of years ago, the idea was brought forward that we have an assistant superintendent, and I was against it 100%. I don't think that we need to have more administration. So I agree to that. And again, I know people don't like to hear it, but we really have a lot of people in our ear, or in my ear, I won't speak for other people, saying, close the school down, we're going to Pinkerton. So
I have heard it multiple times as well.
Which is something I'm not in favor of. I just want to, for the record.
No, listen, I'm not in favor of that. I'm just telling you, and I appreciate that you guys are showing up. At the polls, there's a different set of people who are showing up who are not voting for this. And we did make
we tried to get the teacher contracts passed. And if you look at the history of when the budget has gone up, it has shown that the teacher contracts don't pass. So yeah, there was definitely some maneuvering of, we need to make sure this teacher contract passes. That was really important to us.
Or look at what happens when a default budget is lower than a proposed budget, right? Like the town will just vote for the lower number, right? So if like one of the things that we've worked on in the past few years always is to get that proposed budget under the default. Otherwise, there's very little chance of passing it, right? And we can't do much without.
And many of us have young children. I mean, for many of you know, I have a third grader.
I got 3.
In the same boat as many of
Yeah.
you. Like, I want my daughter to have the same things that my son has, who's a junior.
Yeah.
And that might not happen.
And we're all taxpayers. So every decision we make impacts us. Every single decision. I have 2 kids in the school, right, in district. And I do just want to say, because we've been talking about the budgets passing and not passing, we have passed budgets and teacher contracts, I believe, for the last 4 years. And I thank everybody who has voted positively to help us do that, because it makes a huge impact. And we have been fiscally responsible. And despite this, I know the 500,000 has been thrown out a number of times. We are still going to give back a large amount of money to both of the communities. So we are a fiscally responsible board. We will continue to be so. But if there's some delusion that there's not going to have to be cuts made, we got to get our heads wrapped around it and make the best decisions as a community, not a board, not as Dawn or Rick, but as a community, we have to make these decisions.
And sorry, this is great. I love the fact that we're finally talking. Or become an activated force for mitigating the problem, right? Like we are prepared to have to make tough decisions. We'd also love to work with the community to figure out how not to have to make them. How can we get more students in here? How can we attract more people? How can we counterbalance the Fremont loss in some way so that we don't have to make these decisions, right? So at the same time that we're preparing for that future, we're trying to push against it. And I think that we could all work together to come up with some solutions.
And how many open positions did we have on the budget committee this year? 2.
Yeah.
So please, people, I would recommend, we would love if people got involved.
And there's a lot of negativity to rally around, right? Like there's a lot of stuff, and my heart goes out to everybody involved in what has happened over the past 6 months. But as we move on, this is the best place to be, as far as rebuilding, because we can really rebuild how we want it to be. Like and we're very close to starting our large search for a superintendent. People will be engaged. Like we are at a great spot to sort of rebuild how we want this district to be.
I will say that, there is something to be said about the old saying of it's always darkest before dawn. There's a silver lining with everything that's gone on in recent events. And I think that it has ignited a fire and a passion for a lot of parents to get involved, to make themselves more knowledgeable. And I'm hopeful that probably along with all of you, that will start to see a change in the budget committee for the school and having more people come out and working together to make a better future for our children. And I do commend all of you. And again, everybody who's here and who's been watching. I think it's possible. I think it's a long road. But I think it can be done.
Thank you, Kara.
And I haven't commented yet, and I'd like to now. So for 1 year prior to running for the board, I sat in that seat as a parent. I have 2 children in the district, and I was the only one that sat in that seat. I would watch the board up here for 1 year by myself sitting in that seat. And I just thought to myself, wow, parents just maybe don't care, or they're busy, or, right? All these other things. And I want to be engaged, and I want to know what my kids are learning. I want to make sure that there's solid academics. I want to make sure that there's that this is the best opportunity that I can bring my kids to, because I too looked for outside schooling, for private schooling. And so I said, well, if I'm going to make a change and I'm going to be here, the best way to do that is run for the board. And so I ran for the board uncontested. And every single member that sits on this board, at least recently, has ran uncontested. Nobody's interested in doing this. And so what I love that you're doing is you're saying, hey, we're going to show up and we're ignited. And I'm just being very honest with you.
Mhm.
What I would love to see is that this group here that cares enough to show up doesn't begin to dwindle, because you know what? Yep. It gets tiring. These meetings get long, they get tiring. It's a ton of homework we devote. We devote a ton of time outside of these meetings to trying to make the best decisions for this district. And the reality is we are always threading a needle. Rough, and I could be slightly off on this statistic, but I'm not far. 13% of our residents have students here. 13%. So that means that 13% really either care or should care what's going on. We're trying to pass budgets with everybody, knowing that only 13% have a vested interest in what happens today. So we're always threading the needle. And what I found, I used to sit on that side over there and say, man, why don't they just don't get this, or why don't they just do that? Then I got over here and I realized, holy crap, it doesn't matter how many things we cut every year. There's raises, right? There's raises for teachers. We pass contracts. That's how we pass contracts, is we give good teachers a starting salary that's, commensurate with where they live and their education level and their experience. And then we give them raises. So even if we do nothing to our budget, it just grows and grows and grows. And 13% of us really care about having great teachers in the classroom. And maybe it's slightly more, but we're always threading that needle. And that's just one small example. There's hundreds more. So I love Megan's idea about starting a working group, people getting engaged, because we're going to need help. If we want this place to run and be the best it can be, we need help. This group can't do it all. We want your help. We need your help.
And I will say too, I don't know about others, but maybe a later time for the meetings. 6 o'clock is kind of hard, especially if you work in such as myself in a corporate world.
Can I make a comment to that? I had no idea before I got on the board how much time was spent in here, because when that TV goes off, we're in non-public. So we're already going, we're here till 9:30 sometimes. I get up early, and these guys in the finance, like sometimes we're here at 3:30 for meetings. So understand, for us, we're here this is only
hours,
part of our night. So I hear that,
and I respect that.
Is everyone here? I have kids. I have a job. Like, it's the same thing. So I appreciate that, but also having been a BudCon that starts at 7, which is a little later. I'm just telling you, when you guys leave here, we're going to be here for another couple of hours. So just understand that.
No, I do. But I'm also saying that I respect that. I can't even begin to understand the amount of hours that you guys put in, and how my mom was on the school board years ago. She was a select member for another town. I know how much my mom gave up and what she missed in the hours that she put in. I do understand that. But I'm also saying that it's a time where both parents work. Multiple generations are living in a home. I know that, but I'm saying that
same thing.
6 o'clock is not always easy for us either. So when we're saying that we need more parent involvement, sometimes it is, on a Saturday night after I've put my son to bed, that I'm watching a meeting that happened on a Wednesday night. So just because we're not always here doesn't mean that we're not always involved and wanting to be involved.
I've made those sacrifices so many times. I've paid for babysitters to come and watch my kids so I can be here. I have to move my schedule around. So we have to do this every meeting. We don't get to pick and choose or come when we want. We are consistently here. And I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but I've heard people say, well, it should be a requirement that school board members substitute in the school. Wait a minute. Do people understand how much time we're putting? We're doing the same thing that you guys are doing, and we're consistently doing that. And sometimes it does feel like people don't understand how much time we're really putting into things. Right. I mean, to that, yeah, it's 6 o'clock, but I assure you that you're going to be home earlier than we will. And I will be tired all day tomorrow because of how late I've been here. And then I'll have to catch up on work and whatnot. It's not easy. It's not.
Yeah, I think I would just say that, and I don't disagree. But but I hear problems, right? So this sounds like a problem, a time problem. And I sit and I try to think of solutions, right? So if there's a time constraint, like if we start this group, right? And I think we've been going on for a while now, right? But if we start this group and there's a time constraint, I will be the first one to raise my hand to meet with the group and bring the information back to the board as often as I can. I can't commit anybody else on the board to do that, but
Thank you.
I think you have a set of people at this board that are willing, that have made sacrifices and are willing to continue to do so as long as it adds value, right? Because it's time away from our families as well, right? But I will volunteer to, if there's a group and there's a time constraint, I will volunteer to go to that group and bring the information back.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hopefully this is my last time.
Yeah, I think there's a 2 limit.
Way back in the late 80s, early 90s, there was more of a grassroots effort before voting. People used to meet at someone's house in the neighborhood, and someone from the school board or someone from the administration would come and talk about what was going on and what was needed, and votes passed. And so I think we need to get back to that. Somehow we need to say, okay, who wants to sponsor something in your neighborhood and invite people in? Because you need people from all age groups. It's not just the parents. As we know, the parents don't vote. We've tried in the past having kids vote at school so they'd bring their parent in. Sometimes parents came, sometimes they didn't. But I think maybe if we go back to the grassroots and have neighborhood meetings and we can get more people in there to vote, it might help us.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
we don't disagree.
Hi, I'm Kate DiTomaso. I'm a Kingston, New Hampshire resident, 4 kids in the district. So I just wanted to circle back to a comment, I believe after that was shared about, advocating for the individual programs, not combining, and I believe sharing how difficult it is to, look at what's ahead. So doing budget planning for the future fiscal year is difficult. My job for the military was utilization management. So it's essentially looking at our resources. Are we spending them appropriately? Are people in their positions of able to be maintained, or do we need to make necessary cuts? So I looked at fiscal responsibility. So I was able to actually look at how our budget has been for the last few years. And that's actually where I saw that the information, because you had shared, go and look. You said, go look at other superintendent salaries, and the former superintendent salary was not actually available. It wasn't available to the voters before we voted on the budget, which thankfully it was passed so that some educators could get the raises that they're duly owed, but voters weren't allowed to make informed decisions because that information wasn't made privileged to them. That's a big issue for me. So we talk a lot about you want to be engaged, you want to have the public at your side, but we're not receiving transparent information. So how are we going
I
to?
guess you're saying it wasn't available in the New Hampshire Department of Education?
Correct. Yep. I verified that.
I can't answer for them, but
Right.
I can tell you that when I pull my information to compare salaries, I've never had a problem getting it.
Yeah, that information is accurate now because I outreached and elevated that, but it wasn't, which was a big issue for me.
I've always been able.
And also there's other factors too to look at, because I know for the last several years, like, again, when the idea of assistant superintendent came up, I know that I went online and I did look, and I didn't have a problem finding it. One other thing that I do want to mention, and again, I'm not advocating for or against, but there's other things to consider in a salary, which maybe are like the other benefits that are not in someone's salary.
No, I'm familiar with how to evaluate that
No, I understand, but I
total
just wanted to-
compensation.
To like 503 with 503B plans and some other things. So there is, I'm just saying, when you see those numbers, and I encourage you to look for it, I'm just saying that there's other things to consider as.
So the state will actually be moving towards business intelligence models to track how we're budgeting. So that'll actually be useful for us. But when I looked back at our budget, it actually isn't fiscally responsible. It's very top heavy when it comes to administrative salaries.
Yeah.
So as I look in the old business agenda, we're talking about an already approved plan for something that was meant to be voted on, I believe, this meeting. And we've already cut something that a teacher that is beloved by many families and children alike. So I'm just very confused with how we're talking about fiscal responsibility and wanting to engage with the community when we've gone ahead and approved for a job that didn't go out to bid, didn't get comment by the public, and none of us were notified about that. That doesn't speak to engagement, transparency, or fiscal responsibility at all.
I encourage you to go for one of those 2 budget seats because you're right. You definitely seem like somebody who's looking at the numbers. So honestly, like we've been saying, we want your help. Please. I don't know if they've.
But I'm talking about right now. Every single one of you have talked about how much you dedicate, your sacrifice, your this. I have emailed every single one of you and I get crickets. I don't
would
receive
strongly-
responses.
Hold on.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and I have responded. Do you want me to bring it up? Please don't. I'm just going to say this, Caitlin.
there's no
I respect you for being
transparency.
engaged, but I'm not going to let anybody lie about my response.
I'm not,
Don't
there's
say-
no
you just
fiscal,
said I didn't respond.
there's no fiscal responsibility
That's
when.
not what you said. You said that I didn't respond to your emails. So I'm going to hold you to what you said. Don't get up and lie. Let's be honest.
I'm not lying.
Well,
I have several
you want me to-
emails that remain unanswered
Read you
from.
my response. I've communicated with you on Facebook Messenger and via email. Correct?
One time, yes.
That's incorrect. But I'll let you go with that. That's fine.
That's fine. But fiscal responsibility is not something that the board should be touting, especially on the heels of everything that there has to be accountability. This is what the community is crying for.
I mean, I think we should have a further conversation about what criteria you would define, what elements you would define to constitute a responsible approach, because this year, what is it, 1.9, Matt?
I mean, I have to pull it up. Wasn't it point?
What?
Yeah,
Doug,
1.9.
what are you at? What are you asking?
1.9 million
Yeah.
going back to taxpayers even after.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's your payment,
1.4.
right? So
It's pretty fiscal. But
Sorry. Didn't I
the budget increased less than, what was it, less than 1% last year?
Yeah, I can pull it. I just didn't know.
I mean, look at surrounding districts.
We're losing teachers in droves. We can't retain staff. That's going to cost us money in the long run.
Actually,
Nobody here
I don't
disagrees.
understand, and
Nobody here
they're
disagrees.
top-heavy
Then we don't make staffing decisions. We make
We're-
one staffing decision. That's what this board does.
But when you look at our administrative overhead budget, it doesn't line up.
But
Right?
that's
And
what
the
I'm trying to
superintendent
say.
makes that decision and brings
Making-
it to us.
But we've also told you that we have cut some of that staff or the superintendent, we don't have a vice principal or we don't have a principal at the middle school anymore. We don't have an assistant superintendent. I don't know what the new salary is going to be for the new superintendent. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts here.
Will
How
the,
would you
but will
expect-
the, will the
how do
community
you-
know?
How do
Will
you
we
think
be
I
able to
know what the superintendent's salary is going to be when I don't know what their
The
qualifications?
committee be able to know what?
We weren't informed about anything. We weren't informed about his approval, the salary increase, none of it. I had to literally go and dig and then elevate it up to the DOE just so it could get published. So when the lay person goes and Googles it, they can find it. People were arguing with me, telling me that I was crazy.
If
His
something
salary was not
published, I don't
public.
think
Yeah.
that is anything on our part.
Yeah.
Had nothing to
That
do with
we-
us.
We
It's
don't-
always
we don't
been
set
published.
Standards for the
The
DOE.
issue.
That's not
The
us.
DO, that's not what they said.
What?
Okay, you know what? I
I
think
feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Be done right now.
Yeah, this board does not determine what the New Hampshire Department of Education publishes.
All right.
Not in no way, shape or form.
Okay, I think we're gonna move on. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And
We got one more.
Yeah, sure.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Maxwell. I'm from Newton, New Hampshire, and a proud mom of 2 children in the community. First, I want to sincerely thank all of you and Dr. Dawson for stepping up as our interim superintendent. He knows the community and school well, and I deeply appreciate his dedication during this important time. We are fortunate to have his steady leadership, and as much as I admire him doing 2 positions, how long does the interim position actually last for? I don't know if anyone has been told or no. And then as we look ahead to select a permanent leader, I feel that it is essential that school committee approach the process thoughtfully with open, meaningful conversations to ensure we find the best fit for our district's needs and for our students' future. I don't know. Does anyone know how long the interim position?
Yeah, I
Not exactly. I mean, we're gonna
yeah.
actively going to start the superintendent search. We may find someone soon. It may take time, but the focus of the board and the community at large, I believe, is to find the right person. So making a quick judgment because we found someone fast is not always the right thing to do. So I don't think there is an actual answer for an exact timeline on that. It's going to depend on the candidates and
Yeah, I think
who the right person is and when they come.
the board has discussed there is no rush. Okay. There is no rush to find the wrong person.
Right.
Okay. There is a rush to find the right person. And when I say rush, that means a methodical approach, which we've already started, right? So I will share that we've engaged 2 executive search companies that specialize in just education, not executive search for, accountants and attorneys or whatever, just education. We haven't decided to move forward with either of them. We are interviewing them. If we do decide to move forward with them, we will let you know. Okay. And then the next stage is then starting that interview process with engaging community and staff. And so we can get multiple opinions and feedback. So we make a collaborative decision, right? Bob has stepped into a world of crap and he raised his hand to help. And I thank him for that. If he is going to interview for the position, that is up to Bob to do, right? Like he is open to interview as well, but we have been very clear with Bob, and I don't think I'm sharing anything out of turn here, but we are moving forward with a full search for the right fit.
I agree that I think our district is extremely lucky that we have him
I agree.
and that he is able to take this on because he has a lot on his plate right now.
Yep.
Be done with that part.
I just
Tired.
but I do think that I'm also a special ed teacher in a different district. So just for us, we have a new principal coming in, and it was kind of the end of the season. So it was spring, May. So instead of hiring someone for that position because we don't feel like we're having all the right candidates at that time, we had a year for an interim position, and that principal position was hired. And then on top of that, now they're going to, in January, come up with a 4-month process for just our principal. So I feel like a superintendent is a huge undertaking and very.
Yeah, I don't think we didn't look at it as a time frame to complete it. We're looking at it as a timeline for that correct methodical approach and engagement, so we make a collaborative, correct decision.
And, part of that, engaging that help with the search from a professional company that knows what it's doing in education. The value of that isn't just in the actual searching, but in directing the search, right? We can get input, not just on candidates, but we can get input beforehand. What are our hopes and dreams? What do we want out of this person? How do we want things to be, for the future? And that can help really direct the search such that we already know, pre-qualify candidates.
How do you plan to do that? Are you putting a survey out, or?
We're at the infancy of stages. We've just engaged, 2. Yeah. So once that happens, I'm sure that those,
2.
I would imagine that the beginning stages of that will be a collaborative effort with those partners to define a process in which the community can participate. And, according to their best practices, I'm sure they've done this a bunch of times.
And I know Jeff had mentioned this earlier, I've been part of the Sanborn a long time, and there was a time where we did do things very differently, and I do hope that we can bring some of that back about how we hired principals. And I know none of us were on the board when we hired the former superintendent, so I know as a member of the community, we were not really involved with that process. So we do hope to change that and invite people to be part of the process.
Okay, thank you. Just one more question, just to go back with the amount of people that are enrolled, like the students that were enrolled. I just did a right to know request just to see how many students left our district. And it wasn't clear if it was a 2023 to 2024 year or 2024 to 2025. But in August of one of those years, 108 students from K to 12 left.
We lost 72 kids to the Seacoast Classical School this year.
Okay, so I guess just putting it out there, like what do they have that we don't, and how can we get those kids to stay in our district? That's
a question.
That's what I want.
Incredibly complicated question.
Yes.
I would love to. I would go on. You know what? Reach out to me about that. I have a lot to say about it, but it's not enough time.
We've really just started our meeting.
Yeah.
There's an agenda item too.
Yeah.
Hour and a half.
This could be a midnight.
I can talk to
Did
you.
waive 30-minute pause.
Yeah, no, I've
Give it to yourself.
I'll tell you, waiving those is a great, it finally feels like a school board meeting.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do.
It's great. I'm just saying you're
No.
complaining that it's taking long.
People, I just want to say, this is the most valuable thing. Dialogue like this, which we haven't had in the recent past, is the most important thing that we can be doing here. And I think it's fantastic that we're having it. So please continue. Okay, go.
Okay, go. All right. So I think we're ready to move on to the 7.1 academic calendar for 25-26. This is just a really simple, I know Bob has it, but Christine reached out to me because when we did the original calendar for 25-26, we forgot to note the first day of school is listed, but that's not the first day of school for all students. So you'll note on there, the first day of school is for K through 5, and then what is sixth graders and ninth graders. So we're just trying to clarify.
Clarifying question.
Yeah.
It says pre-5, but historically pre-K usually starts 2 weeks.
That could be a typo. I didn't catch that one.
I think that's right. But I don't know that.
Heather, were you looking?
So I'm looking, so in August, it says students return on the 26th. It says pre-K through K. Go pre-K through 5 and 6 to 9, but historically pre-K starts 2
Got
to
it.
3 weeks after, and they end 2 to 3 weeks early.
Got it.
I just don't want to vote on something.
Yeah, hold on. Let me go look.
Yep.
Let me just look at this last year's and see if it's
Yeah.
No, it's not like
different.
No, I know I'm getting to that.
The chance.
There's another, the change was really something else.
Oh, that's not what Christine told me.
What's that?
It was she needed to change the start dates to clarify.
Start everybody at once. But in this building, we'll just bring everybody back.
Is that the
Who
old?
wants to
issue?
bring everybody back?
So then this isn't the right calendar then.
Wait, she wanted to bring them all back on the same day?
Yes.
That's not what she told me.
Well, I can check. I'll have to check with her then.
Yeah, all right, then let's table this.
Table it.
Because I was given different information. She said we need to change it so that we have 2 different start dates.
7-2.
7.2.
Yeah, I don't think he's communicating right with Jen then.
Thank
So
you.
That's not the way I understood it.
Okay. Is she here?
She's around. I can check with her.
Okay. All right, so
Everywhere.
we'll
Nope. You text her.
we'll postpone that. Okay, technology purchases, Gordon.
And then the microphone.
Hello.
Oh.
Hi, Gordon.
Hello. That time of year again. Except I have a budget for next year. So hopefully this will be quick and easy. First one was on there, what, laptops on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. So like previous years, I'm looking to purchase 50 new laptops for staff. These will be replacing the majority or a good majority of the ones that we purchased back during COVID when we had a rush purchase and didn't really select the best model. So we're losing a lot of them now. We've been slowly trying to migrate away from them. So these 50 will be to replace strictly teacher laptops. I went and got here three different vendors for 5 different quotes. Decided that, you know, since we are a Dell shop, we've been using Dell laptops, that I would like to go with the Dell quote, which I want to add that I believe it is under last year's price, even with inflation and tariffs and all that. So, so I am asking the board to purchase these 50 Dell laptops at $49,999.50, which also includes 3 years of pro support, which also includes accidental. And the money would come from fiscal year 26 budget. Technology budget.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Gordon, for your hard work.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous? Wonderful. Okay.
I lost my
Next is Chrome.
my drive. Hold on. So Chromebooks, unfortunately, the price was increased compared to last year. Looking to get 150 new Chromebooks. Majority of them are for upcoming freshmen, like always. We have projected amount of 132 freshmen for next year. This year, so that's about 18 over the projected. This year, we, as of June 1st, we've had 37 completely destroyed Chromebooks. So this additional amount will go to either replenishing loaner laptops or to new students and to replace broken ones. 2 different vendors, 4 different quotes for 4 different manufacturers. Again, I'm proposing to go with Dell. It wasn't the cheapest quote, but between the amount of parts that we have for our current Chromebooks, every time we lose one, we strip the screen from it, keyboard if it's good. So we have a large surplus of parts. And then the tech that takes care of it is pretty efficient. He's gotten to the point where, you know, he probably replaced screens with his eyes closed. So this, looking to get the 150 Chromebook quote, 150 Dell Chromebooks, $45,871.50. And the Google licensing for the Chromebook is $4,777.50. And they do come with a 1-year warranty, which I don't believe covers accidental. And so the money would come from the fiscal year 26 budget.
I have a question. Any revenue from the insurance, like how many families buy?
Very little.
Very little?
Very little.
Okay.
The schools have done a great job over the last 2 years collecting for any damages done to the Chromebooks, including, you know, full replacement. The problem with that, which we're still trying to figure out, Matt and I, is what happens with that money. Because originally we had created the warrant article for the protection plan, but I would like to take that money that's given to pay for our broken screens, broken keyboards, include that in there so that way I can use that to help fund these Chromebooks every year as well.
We're looking into, yeah, because it gets returned as other revenue, so then it goes back to essentially back to the tax.
It would have to go to the taxpayers to vote.
Yeah,
So it's just kind of a little obstacle.
You use that the way that the warrant articles written for a full replacement, but if they break, like they crack a screen or a keyboard, we can't use it. Is that what you're saying?
Any damages that are charged, I don't get any of that money to buy any parts with, any replacements. The only money that I get Chromebook wise is anybody that does sign up for the yearly insurance, which is very, very little. I want to say we had maybe, I don't know, 40, went up from last year. I think last year we might only had 25. So maybe at some point it'll get to that point, but
Offsetting revenue. If you change the warrant article, it's offset.
Oh, no, I'm talking about.
Yeah. Number
Totally different. Yeah.
I make a motion to accept the proposal to buy the Dell Chromebooks at $50,000, $649 for the incoming freshmen.
Second.
I'm sorry, did we already motion to approve the first one he said?
Yes,
You did.
that one's done.
That we already voted on.
Okay, yep, you're right.
No
You're right.
takes
The
back.
motion-
Motion and a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All right, any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
thank you. All right, last one. This is something new. Linewise. So what Linewise is it's a group of 3 different pieces of software that I think will greatly help the district. The first one is a monitoring software. So what this will do is, and it's kind of the same with the other 2. There's an agent that will go on the Chromebooks. And what it'll do is it'll actually monitor writing emails or writing papers or being in, we've had situations where students have gone in the most random social media sites and have been able to message other students, and we can't see any of that. What this does is this will actually catch it as a screenshot. So if there's self-harm, if there's a threat to the school and somebody's just writing an email and then they decide to backspace it, we already know about it. We've got a screenshot. And then what happens with that is, based on the severity, AI will determine if it's okay to just be an email to selected staff, administration, or whatever, or if it got to go right to the police department and they'll get a phone call straight from a real person saying, hey, we saw this, we have a big issue. So it's similar to, if you've heard of like Go Guardian, it's similar to Go Guardian. It's a monitoring for safety purposes. And it'll allow us to catch things that aren't even sent in theory. So that's one piece of it. The second piece is web filtering. So again, agent on the Chromebooks, there'll be a agent on staff laptops, and it'll basically give us a better web filtering throughout the district. And it'll also allow us to block things for students, but allow things for staff. So a big thing is like ChatGPT. We get a lot of requests from staff to be able to use that. Currently, right now, in order to use it, we'd have to kind of unblock it for the whole district. This will allow us to select and choose what we can block from students, what we can block from staff, on top of, all their filtered lists that will just constantly be updated. So if there's VPNs and new VPNs come out, as soon as they catch it, they auto update it. We don't have to touch it. And I have a little further down in my report, there is a piece of hardware too that we can put in place that will catch non-agent devices. So any cell phone on the wireless network, we can actually filter out their web as well. So it'll allow us to do that without having to physically touch a piece of equipment. The last one, part of the software, is called ClassWise. And what this is this will work with the SIS, where teachers will have their students scheduled, and the teacher can see on their screen every student in their class what's going on their Chromebook. And you guys are looking at me like,
Well, I go Guardian.
okay.
Like watch it and then get us.
And what happens is the teacher can put all the kids' Chromebooks in focus mode and say, hey, you can only go to Wikipedia.
So when my kid's trying to watch the Patriots YouTube, the teacher.
the teacher can shut it down. Correct. So they can put them in focus mode, so they can only access certain sites. They can do like a reward mode where it then allows them, maybe for 15 minutes to play on a game website that's typically blocked. So say like ChatGPT, might be blocked for students, but say the teacher wants them to use it, they can actually come in and say, hey, these 15 students in my class can now access ChatGPT until my class is over or for the next 10 minutes. And what happens, all those restrictions at the end of the scheduled class, they all wipe, and it's up to the next teacher to decide if they want to put restrictions or just leave it the way it is. It also comes with a history. So we do have a lot of issues where a teacher will walk by a kid, they see him switch real quick on their laptop. Teacher can just go back to their thing, their computer, select the student, what were they accessing, and see full history of what they basically just clicked off of. So it'll greatly help with, a lot of that stuff, stopping that from happening. And a lot of this
Can I ask you a
too.
quick question?
Yeah.
Is that for like every single grade that has a Chromebook? Is it for specific grades? Like,
It can be for any of, I think there might be an iPad agent, but it would at least be third grade through 12th. And everything's kind of populated through the SIS, so the schedules are built in there, and the staff can basically, every class, it'll just show up their roster for that class.
Do we have any concerns that this would increase like administration oversight? Like, because it says use AI to detect signs of self-harm, bullying, and threats. Like, yes, we want to make sure that we're catching those things, but we know that AI and things are faulty. And
Yeah.
do we think this would increase discipline?
I have a bunch of questions.
I have one question, I think. We had software that did this before, and I believe we got rid of it for a budgetary cut. Is that correct?
Not since I've been here. We had tested out a freebie one called Bark, and we decided the way that it worked, it was just, how are the issues going to be handled on the weekends? If you're getting an email of a self-harm on a Friday night and you don't check your email till Monday, who's liable for that and whatnot. So the great thing with this one, everything's level. So there's level ones, which could be, maybe just some light bullying or something like that. Level 4, where it could be threat, self-harm. And each one, so AI will capture the moment, but it actually goes to a live team who will review that moment and then decide what category. So if we have category 4 set for call the police, somebody, real person, is going to call the police. If, say, category 3 is, hey, this is a big issue, but police doesn't need to be involved, the principal might get a call.
Yeah.
If it's level 1 or 2, or level 2, it might be a straight email. If it's level 1, it would be maybe like a weekly email with all those level 1 issues.
I have a question. When would you want this to go into effect? For next school year?
Correct.
Thank God I'm graduating.
So, yeah, Mike, you're saying.
Hello.
Well,
I just gotta say, I feel like this is such a complex type of thing, especially when part of it's AI driven. I got questions about privacy.
Yeah.
Part of me says that students don't have the expectation of privacy on school devices, but another part of me says this seems like some kind of an invasion of privacy and autonomy. So I don't have enough information. I'm not going to get enough information tonight.
Right.
To think about.
That's
we need.
And
yeah, that's where I'm at. Too.
Unfortunately, this was something that I've been working on since last year. And the last few meetings, I've wanted to present and kind of get a lot of this stuff out of the way, but with the way the meetings work, just kind of kept pushing.
I had a long conversation last week. I got an email. I'm not going to say the person's name, but I would encourage them to speak up because it was an intelligent conversation from somebody within the district that had concerns over the lack of containment, maybe not the best word, or privacy, and our exposure with these Chromebooks. And they referenced another, and I can't remember reference another program that we used to use to help manage that. There is a need, right? I don't know if this is, I agree, this probably, we don't have enough information. We may need to see a presentation from this organization and really maybe pick what we want to do as a community. There is a need for the privacy of not only the district, but our students, right?
Right.
So I agree with what you're saying and doing. I just, I agree with everybody else. I don't think we're going to be able to. I think we need a
And
lot more.
this is one of those things where every new administrator that has come in here in the last 5 years has asked me, why don't we have Go Guardian? Why don't we have anything that's, monitoring what's going on with the kids? So it's something that a lot of districts do have something in place. And that was always the biggest thing, was the privacy. The way we look at it is it's a school-owned device. What you do on that is school business, basically.
Yeah, I would, maybe the wording that's being used, monitoring the kids may not be the best goal. I think it's enhanced learning environment. I think it's, creating, being able to monitor and control that learning environment while the kids are in class, and then putting in the safeguards to protect the district's information and the students that are using those Chromebooks, right?
Right.
I think that's the way we sort of have to look at it versus how are we controlling the kids? You know what I mean? So,
Right. And it's, like I said, just something that a lot of administration have asked me for.
Yeah.
And so it's just something that, they've all sat through demos of this product. They all liked it. So it's just kind of moving that next step and trying to figure out where we want to go.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say too, given the fact that part of it is AI driven or AI powered, and that part specifically relates to questions, potentially bullying, self-harm, pretty sensitive issues. I don't know that we as a district I'm pretty sure we're probably close to having a responsible AI use narrative or policy, not policy with a capital P, but we should develop a responsible AI use from an academic perspective, but we should also develop one from an administrative perspective too, and what that looks like. Because I'm not sure I'm yet informed well enough about the capabilities of this thing, the pitfalls, the benefits, any of it.
Right. And I did, in there are some little like brochures on what it is, but I'd be happy to, either email them and see if they can schedule a demo or send a video. We might have recorded our demo that we had. I'll have to check through some email. I mean, this was probably April of 24 when we did that demo. But in terms of, just that one, the monitor, we can get other solutions on here. Like it's not a all three together, one price, each one's kind of packaged. So if that's something that we want to hold off on, I'm perfectly fine, but I would like to at least do the web filtering, give us the ability to, have, dynamic lists that are constantly updated, constantly blocking the things that we need to have blocked, that are categorized by, a company that, will handle a lot of that. Because right now, if we get a request to block a website, I have to go on 4 pieces of hardware and manually input that to block it on the district. If it's on the student level, I have to go to a bunch of groups and type it in manually.
So Gordon, which one is that? So there's 3.
So that is going to be the
monitor school manager.
Line-wise school manager.
Okay.
And then the class-wise would be the classroom management on the Chromebooks.
So I feel like I would be more comfortable with the last two. I agree about, I'm not ready for the AI conversation. Based on just from what I'm hearing and what I'm reading, I would be comfortable with those two.
And Gordon, so my question on this is, I agree with all those statements. My last question would be on the class-wise portion. Sometimes we think more is better, but for teachers who are already overtapped, more is not always better, right? So they already have the hall pass program that they're constantly monitoring with kids going to the bathroom, and they came back from the bathroom and where they at in the bathroom. So now, is this something that the teachers have that you have heard teachers want this, they're ready to use it, they've got time to do it, and they're invested in it? Or is this going to be something that we're like, hey, teachers, look what we just spent 25 grand on, and they're like, oh my goodness, now I got to learn another program. I didn't want that thing to begin with.
Right. And again, I'm trying to remember back from last year if we had teachers, I believe you might have been on the demo map, but you probably don't remember either.
I wasn't on the demo.
If
no.
we had a couple teachers on the demo as well, I'd have to check. But it's ultimately can be used in two ways, whether it's a teacher wants to fully engage in it to, you know, handle the classroom management and to keep the kids on track, or in regards of just kind of a what was that? What did I see on your screen? Come back to their laptop, just check and then be done with it, you know? So it's not something that they have to sit and monitor throughout the whole class. It's going to disrupt them from their teaching.
Is this something that they want though?
It's, I guess I don't know.
Okay.
And that's
You
a
know?
fair answer. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. I'd rather not spend something if we don't know that they even want it, right?
I've
been working hard behind the scenes for over a year. And
This is the first
Yeah.
we've ever
Oh,
heard about it.
to be fair, it was on the agenda for last year when I came with like 19 things, and was asked to pull it off. So
but there's been
Plenty of opportunity between.
But Gordon, now that we know
Yeah.
that this is, so I'm going to make a motion, right? But now that we know, we can help you gather the information to make an informed. So we can, and we appreciate everything.
yeah. And the original thought with this was to come in, talk about this like back in maybe March.
Yeah.
To figure out about the monitoring and to be able to, like, we have the ability to run this and see the results. So have it run for a month, see all the results for a month, and then obviously have something in place that if there is a, you know, high level issue, that there is somebody getting that phone call. So that is an option as well, that if, you know, we decide we want to, you know, go forward with that we can just put it in place for a month and see the data and see what it's catching. And ultimately, once the students find out what's going on, a lot of that stops, which causes a lot of, you know, things to discipline issues and everything to kind of slow down because they know they're being watched and that these things are being sent to administration.
Can I ask a question? So yeah, I kind of do remember this conversation. I think it was like in the policy committee. We brought up that we are coming up with a new cell phone policy. So I kind of remember hearing from someone, and you might not have been there, but somebody saying, "Oh, there's even bigger stuff coming." My question is, does this have with this web filtering and whatnot? We had discussed parents being able to email the kids to their school email address.
I can't even email my daughter.
This has nothing.
This is
that's still
strictly going to the web.
Below a certain grade.
Yeah.
With the email, I believe it's restricted at like until like 8th grade or something like that, where it's only inbound email that the students can receive.
Oh, like
so then once I believe it might be 8th grade. Once they hit 8th grade, then it opens up.
8th grade, it doesn't open because I can't email my dad.
So it's 9th grade.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good information. I think Heather, you were on policy. I believe we talked last year about, getting stricter on the cell phone policy. And one of the things was like, how are parents going to get in contact with their kids? And it kind of came up, well, if the parents could email their kids, and I think we hit a block there.
all the kids check their email.
And as far as I know, that's
All the kids.
No, they don't. But it would just like sort of.
I've opened every single email I've ever received from the SAU 17 school district.
But it was in regards to a bigger thing though, which is the cell phones was how it came about. But okay, it does.
And I'm open to changing that and opening it up sooner. The problem is the amount of spam.
No, I think
does still get through.
It was going to be
just to a parent whose email address is on the student's account.
Yeah,
so it had to be a parent.
I'd have to look into it, but I don't think.
And that's what we were asking.
Without a ton of manual work, I don't think that it's that simple.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We can move on.
So
all right.
Make a motion to move forward with the line-wise school manager only and continue investigating and discussion on line-wise, monitor, and class-wise.
I'd like to amend your motion because I think what I heard is that we can try it for 30 days, correct?
We can try the monitoring and even the class wise, we could probably pick a select few teachers.
Not the line, this line-wise school manager. We can trial
Yes.
that for 30 days?
The line wise school manager, I don't know. I know the monitoring is what I knew that we could trial.
Well, you're not, you made a motion for the school
I just
manager.
think for me, I think what I've heard about school manager, I'm comfortable with, and it will allow the IT department to web filter, get rid of websites. Like it's something that I feel like is manageable. I want more information on the other two. I want it to Jeremiah's question. I want to know if the teachers would like to use it, like is it worth the investment? But I am comfortable with the school manager. So that is my motion.
I'll rescind my motion.
How much does that cost?
So there's two parts to it.
Oh, sorry, wait. Second.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
school manager 3-year subscription is 12,480. So broken up across 3 years, what's that? Just over 4,000 a year. And then the other thing that I do want to mention is the piece of hardware, which initially, so this was put in for the budget for next year, this entire quote. The physical piece of hardware, so it's a piece of hardware that would go in each building in front of the network, which allows us to monitor anybody without the agent and see all that traffic. That's 1,800 a building per year. So if
Does that
we
mean
wanted,
any parent that walks into the school building, you can like monitor what they're
if they're on the Wi-Fi,
saying or emailing or
it would block all the, adult sites and, all the big stuff. It would block right off the bat through this piece of hardware.
but,
So that way,
but monitor like text messages and email.
no, it's just web traffic.
That's the only.
No, the monitoring, so with the monitoring as well, the parents do get an option to have a license for their student's device as well, and it would monitor that, but not this. This is straight up web filter. You go to a VPN, it's just going to say, sorry, you're blocked. It's going to record it for me. It's going to put it in reports, and I'm going to be able to pull, a student's internet history, a staff member's internet history, and be able to see what they're accessing on the network, on the web.
So, but do you need that? So you're saying you do need that piece of equipment to be able to do that for the staff and the students, or you do not?
I do not, but the problem is if somebody's on our network,
Yeah.
I have no.
Well,
other
but how,
basic
I
network.
thought we had it locked. I thought people couldn't get on our network.
Still get on.
They definitely can.
Yeah, and that
You know how many times?
that's exactly what the person that I spoke to went directly to, the security and who can get on the network.
And
Glad you said that.
unfortunately, a big part of that is staff. Day one of our new wireless system, we let all the staff know, hey, this is the guest network password. 2 hours into the start of school, it was found all over whiteboards, guest network password written all over it. So then we changed it. And somebody gets it on their phone. They go to the main office, gets the password on their cell phone. Well, now it's on their cell phone. They can view what the password is because it's their cell phone. So now here it is. Everybody passes it on. The good thing with the guest network is it has no access to anything but the web. The problem is if another password does get out and they're on the network, on the internal network, and they don't have this agent on their machine, this piece of hardware will catch and monitor what they're doing.
I'm fine with that. You said $1,800 per school per year?
Per school per year. So we could do just this building. We could do all 3 schools. We don't necessarily need it at the SAU office. So we can do 1, 2, or 3 schools with it.
Do I need to amend my to add?
Yeah, maybe to include the hardware.
Okay, I will amend my motion to approve LimeWise school manager with the hardware for the school campuses.
Second.
All right.
So before we vote, I'm not gonna be in favor of this. I I don't think there's enough information. I don't know if there's a 30-day trial period to sort of test it and get the information we need and see how it
Definitely.
works. So,
And if it would make you feel better, I can ask before even proceeding. And then, after the 30 days, whether it's an email or whatnot, let you know, how the trial went and, go from there,
I'd love to take, so we're in discussion. I'd love to table it. This has gone very long.
Yeah.
It's important, but we have less than 2 weeks left of school.
I agree. It's super.
Let's
I don't
table
think
it.
we're going to get the test done anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
Big.
Yep. Yep.
We don't agree. I agree 100%. Something's needed. I just don't know if this is the right solution.
Yep.
Asking me to spend taxpayer money.
Right.
And I
So
think
do
we-
I have the ability to trial it? I mean, it's tough to kind of trial summertime.
Right.
So do we just kind of wait till the fall?
Yeah.
Start a trial in the fall, see how it goes.
We're going to be meeting over the summer. So I
Right.
think we start with information.
Yeah.
Bob, I'd like to get a user to maybe focus team that can do the line-wise, class-wise. To see if it adds value to teachers. You can select that group, multiple schools.
And if they want it.
Yeah. If
This isn't
Right,
like
if they
we're
want-
not suggesting that they say yes. We actually want to know, do they want it?
Want
or
the
not?
It could
feedback of
be
what
a-
we're gonna-
Google survey. Like, do you want it? Do you not want it?
Right. And we can have, 3 or 4 staff members trial it out as
Yeah.
well. I know that for a fact.
And then the information that you got from them, I would love to see, because I went on their
Yeah.
website, I read through a couple things, and that was not enough information for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Based on the discussion, I will rescind my motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very important. Appreciate your work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a giant hole, whether it's just the web filtering
Yeah.
or what. We don't have adequate filtering for the district, especially on the Chromebooks at home. At that point, it becomes Google's basic filtering. And if there's any filtering at the homes, on hardware at home. So we unfortunately can't restrict home usage, on school
So
devices.
your message to this board is it's an A priority before the start of the school year.
Yeah, I mean, it was an A
Agreed.
priority last year and it's just
Agreed.
haven't been able to.
All right. Thank you, Gordon.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
You.
Appreciate it.
Somebody text me
Thank you.
and said they want to try. So,
Say what?
I just had a teacher text me and say they want to try.
Oh, they-
Sounds good.
Great.
They're watching at home and said,
Okay.
Wow.
Great.
Just
Yeah,
so you know.
send me there who it is and I'll
You get it.
reach out.
Thank you, Gordon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Grant for water filtration at Seacoast Buildings, SLC and SCA.
Yeah, this will be quick. About earlier in the year, the water filtration system at Memorial was failing, wasn't passing tests, and it can be pretty pricey. And luckily, our facility manager, who's sitting behind the circulation desk, Dan Doyle, got a grant to cover it all, which is fantastic. So I actually just need the board to make a motion to allow you to Chair Dutton to sign the grant to accept it.
Make a motion to allow Chair Dutton to sign to accept the grant.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Doyle, for finding.
Yeah.
Very appreciative.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Yes, thank you,
Appreciate it,
Dan.
Dan.
And I'm the work's already scheduled. Correct?
Done. Isn't it done, Dan? Is it?
Done?
Nice.
Done. Yep.
Great.
Fishy.
Perfect.
Yep.
Ow.
All right, so all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay.
Next.
You have the calendar?
I know what Jen wants. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so if the board doesn't mind, we'll go back to the calendar.
Do we have it?
Yes.
We have an email or inbox?
I have it. I texted Jen, and what she would prefer at this building next year would be to have on the 26th, K to 6 would come back, not 7, 8, 9 to 12 would come back. We're not seeing a lot of value in having the 9th graders, particularly the 9th graders that have been in this building for potentially 3 years. Starting, they don't really need that day is what we're finding out. But she feels strongly that the 6th graders do need a day of transition where there's not all the other 7th and 8th graders.
Agreed.
Then the next day on the 27th, everybody would be here. And the pre-K start date, I think, would be TBD. Once we figure out what they want, but I think.
Yeah, I looked at previous
I think it is-
calendars. I looked at previous calendars and it has consistently said pre-K on there, the same. So
Same day?
right, wrong, or indifferent.
Okay, yeah.
That's what it's been saying. I looked.
I just know as a parent, if I saw that, I would be bringing
Yeah.
my little guy first day.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm guessing the communication goes out to them very.
Yeah, I think
clearly, so if it's
what Phyllis put in here is the calendar that was approved previously, and I think the change we're looking to make is to just
So pre-K.
it would just base
6 would on the 26th and then
26th.
and then 9 through 12 on
No, excuse me. It'd be pre-K to 6 and 9 through 12 on the 26th. And the 27th be all grades.
9 through 12 would come on the 26th.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like the ninth graders still need that first day by themselves to just get their footing. Like, yes, they're in the building, but they're not in those wings. They haven't figured out where those classrooms are. Like, it's a lot. It's very overwhelming.
So we're gonna table, let's table. Okay, let's move on to something.
Disabled.
Yep.
Great.
All right. We've tabled it twice now.
Yeah, long office meeting.
Very 7 point.
Okay, 7.4, Seacoast Learning Collaborative Lease Agreement.
This will also be quick.
Yep.
The SLC's agreement, lease agreement, 5-year agreement is up this June 30th. And about 5 months ago, we engaged in the renewal process. And it went through the Finance and Facility Committee. And it's been signed by SLC. And I essentially just need the board to make a motion to allow Chair Dutton to sign as the landlord.
Oh, great. Thanks. Can Bob sign it?
I'll make a
Actually,
I'll make a motion for
Kinda
the
did.
landlord, Chair Dutton, to sign the agreement with.
Thanks.
We thought we.
Chair might beat me.
I assume they've been good tenants.
Oh, sorry. I meant to say that actually. Yeah, they've actually been excellent tenants. SLC, they pay about, I want to say it's $140,000 a year rent. They maintain the building well. It's non-compete school, if you will, with the kids they serve. And again, they're really good tenants. And yeah, they pay their bills on time. They maintain the building.
Okay.
We've had no complaints. So yeah, thank you. I meant to say that.
I feel like there was
Yeah.
concern when it first went in, but I haven't,
No,
since they've been there, I haven't heard any negative.
So
So
their 5 years is up and they're asking for another 5.
Other 5 years, with the same, no material change to the agreement, just the same. The rent increases every year based on CPI. And essentially, that's
The original contract had
The
a
original-
5-year automatic renewal, if they choose, if we. choose.
yes. Yeah.
And I think they've been good partners, good neighbors with Seacoast Classical as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Motion to I'm sorry. Never mind.
All right, yeah, the motion.
We already motioned, already seconded. That was the.
Need to vote.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
We are.
All right,
No.
approval of finance facility chair to approve energy bids over the summer.
Who is
Yes, that's Mr. Nault, Jeremiah Nault. So each summer we obtain pricing for heating oil and propane from major suppliers in the area. And we also select an electricity provider as well. Since energy prices fluctuate from day to day, energy providers may not only quote prices. They may only quote prices for that day. So as a result, there's not enough time to get board approval and lock in prices for the coming school year. So as a result, the school board has historically authorized the finance committee chair, who's Mr. Nault, to review the proposals we obtain and authorize the selection of an energy provider. And we will be selecting a heating oil and propane provider this summer. Typically, though, the electricity contracts aren't selected till the fall. But my recommendation is the school board authorize finance chair, Mr. Jeremiah Nault, to review these proposals that are gathered by the business office and then select a provider. And we'll update the board in the fall.
I make a motion to do that.
I think in the past,
Our Jeremiah.
I think in the past, though, we've always had one person. So it's not only.
I'm gonna make it you. Okay, can I amend the motion?
Just one other person. I think
They-
is what we typically say, just so it's
It
it's
was,
not on you.
But it was me last time. I couldn't do it. There was somebody else.
Yeah,
All right, so I make a motion to approve Jeremiah to engage and approve energy bids over the summer for the following school year. And to and for if Jeremiah is unavailable, to have Rick be available.
Okay.
Somebody second that, please.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I love how you threw my name. in there.
Yeah, you brought it up.
Now I'm changing my mind.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous, great.
Reluctantly.
Okay, permission for superintendent to hire over the summer.
Great idea.
I make a motion to allow Dr. Dawson to hire over this.
Okay.
All right, discussion. Just for public knowledge, this is something that we do every year because we need to be able to make sure that the schools can open in the fall. So we make sure that the superintendent has the authority to be able to do that in case we cannot meet in an effective, timely manner to approve anything. So this is something that is fairly typical and standard for us. So
And my plan obviously would be to engage you guys on the principal positions. That's
correct.
Correct.
And the BA as well.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we
Actually,
need a vote
policy
now.
makes me do that, but
Was
Yes.
there a?
All right. So, yeah, we had a motion and a second discussion and now all in favor? All right. Unanimous. All right. Before we move on to the Siemens Energy audit, I need a 5-minute break. So I want to say, first of all, I appreciate the Siemens staff for being here and sitting through all of this. I do believe I had a request to move the second public comment ahead of them. What is the will of the board?
I feel like they've been waiting for
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
2.5 hours, and I would like them to do their presentation.
Okay, that was my feeling as well, but I just wanted to get the will of the board because it was requested.
Yep.
Okay, so then, if you would like to come on up.
Well,
Are we using the projector again?
they're not really doing a presentation
Oh, okay.
because the last meeting was the presentation. They're here for questions. Yes.
So they're waiting on us.
Yeah. So the last meeting, they presented phase one of the energy audit. Phase one was really just kind of the low hanging fruit, the quote unquote easier systems to deal with. So so that included things like LED lighting in all of our facilities, dealing with some of the building envelope, maybe fire, installation issues and other things. There was also they were also asked to look at the Bakey and Memorial fire alarm systems because those need to be replaced, and maybe we would roll those into the project. And then also the Memorial School hanging ceiling was identified as an issue for different reasons. And as we presented in the May meeting, for anybody who wasn't here, it was kind of a la carte option. There's 4 options to go with. Obviously, replacing LED lighting gives you the most bang for your buck, shortest ROI. And we reviewed all that tonight with finance and facilities, and the committee, which is Rick, Micah, and Jeremiah, asked questions and made some decisions. And I know that, I think some of the committee members will speak up in a bit, but, as part of what they shared in the packet, the Siemens team included the estimated the estimated cost for the projects, estimated annual savings by making especially these changes to our LED lighting, factoring in rebates, and then also the district's estimated average annual contribution. So what would quote unquote cost us, out of pocket? Because a lot of what's going to go into this, like this fairly expensive project for phase one, a lot of it's being paid for just by the savings. You're upgrading your systems, you're going to superior lighting, and you're just going to roll that savings into the financing. So it's relatively, in terms of out of pocket, very, very reasonable. But I don't know if any of the finance committee members wanted to elaborate on what I've said so far.
I don't think we need to.
I'd like to hear.
Well, I would just say this
I would
quickly.
like to know where. I mean, you guys have had.
We've had multiple presentations over the last 3 years, and extensive audits about LED lighting. We punted on them because of roof repairs, right? Some other, a memorial roof and other very expensive things that needed to be done before the LED lighting. Not that it doesn't need to be done, because there's substantial savings to the district, and there's obviously benefits that I'm sure you'll touch on to classrooms, the environment within those classrooms, being able to dim lights rather than teachers hanging shades over lights, falling while they're doing it, and other things. So, yeah, I think it's long overdue, and there's substantial savings on the table for the district, and it's definitely a good upgrade for the infrastructure.
And the only thing I'll add to that, Rick, is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, ladies. If you look at the document that is in our folder that has it's titled Siemens Customer Solutions Tool for SAU 17. It goes over each building. And so if you think about it, like we talked about the a la carte options, like they can do everything, right? And what we did is we whittled it down to, okay, here's kind of the most bang for the buck, the best ROI, and where we can start. And then what we do later on, other phases of this project is up to the board and how we proceed forward with finances and the needs of our facilities, right? So if you look at each one of these, basically they include, like Rick said, lighting, and building envelope, which is their air sealing to prevent, heat escape, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's really what we're focusing on today.
So
And
the
I think the goal.
Crossed out ones we're not focusing on.
Well,
No, so hold on. The crossed out ones are options. So you notice they started with option one, and there was great collaboration between our Siemens partners and our business administrator and our facilities director. And so what they did at each one of those is, rather than just say, "Hey, we're going to start with this set of lights," they actually talked to Dan and Matt, and they said, "Okay, instead of doing this can be done a little bit cheaper, but have the same benefit for the district." And so they whittled down through the options. And so the options that are crossed out, are the options that they were not going to go with. And they whittled down to, this is the best option that's right sized for our district right now. Did I hit that right, Matt?
You did. And I think you left them in there just so we could see it. And it was transparent. Like, this is where we started and this is where we got to.
Yeah.
And
the only thing I'll add is two things. We're not replacing all the fixtures, so there's a definite cost savings to that. That was the least expensive way. Originally, there was some conversations about doing all that. And then there's what we're going to be asking for, Heather, is a motion to approve to a certain limit, because there's some questions on Memorial, some carve outs that they're going to follow up on some different options we had there. So we're basically going to approve a maximum amount to be allocated to this project tonight.
yeah. And one of the slides in the last presentation that I made a copy of, if we did everything, we chose all the items, which we're not. We whittled up. I think you guys took off the fire systems and struck out the ceiling tiles, right? Had everything been included, the average annual cost was like $12,000. So,
Is that so for clarification, that's in addition to what we're already used to paying?
Yes, but you're getting, but then that was the out of pocket prior to removing things. So it's going to go down, but we need to give them time to give us the revised estimates.
Because in the one that we're looking at right here, there was a new fire system for Memorial and a new fire system for Bakey. And we pulled those out of the project at this phase because we're not there yet for this phase. We'll get there, but we want to look at a few other things before we move in that direction. So go ahead.
It's crossed out for one line, but then the other line says it's there.
Yep. So this decision was talked about just tonight at our meeting.
Okay.
This document was provided to us prior to the meeting, which we then as a committee said, well, we're not sure about these couple of things. Well, let's pull them out. And we talked with our Siemens partners and they said, yeah, we can roll that into phase 2. But what this does is it gets us started. And the maximum that we would, and I'm not using the right term, let's call it a threshold, the maximum threshold. Is not this is going to be spent. This is the maximum threshold that our Siemens partners will continue to talk with Matt and Dan. They will then come up with what they think is the final. They will then present to the Facilities and Finance Committee. We will then approve and move forward with that.
We have to allocate funds.
Yeah.
And start the project to get it moving while school is closed. And then there's a guaranteed saving.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll talk.
But what did we miss, or what should you all?
You did a great job.
You got it.
Do you want me to plug in and show that pie chart we were talking about earlier?
I
just talked.
I mean,
about
it's if they get the comments.
Okay.
You're okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, you nail the nail on the head. I think the biggest piece to add is just that where we are paring things down, the energy savings are paying for way more of the project, right? So when you start to pick out things a la carte, like you're talking about, Matt, more of those energy savings pay for the entirety of it. So I think you'd initially said 12,000 or so average every year to pay in. We can get it down to like 2 to 6, 2 to 5, depending on what else we pare down. So, when you think about it retrospectively, your entire district is going to have an LED conversion. You're going to be saving more money than what we're guaranteeing. We just have to be conservative for a few different reasons. But regardless, the project will certainly pay for a very big portion of it. And while you're at it, you're getting your air sealing, so the heat transfer or air conditioning transfer isn't as much. And then we talked about fire at a later date too, as far as being out of code and just getting everything updated to where it needs to be. Do you want to add anything?
So I have a clarifying question. So I'm still struggling to wrap my head around. Like, so it's still going to cost us. We're still going to be paying the same amount of money we were energy wise, plus a little bit more. So when do we see the savings? Like, is that what
No.
I keep hearing?
Okay, I'll try to explain.
So I'm just like, so I know that
Yeah.
when the taxpayers,
Yeah.
they're going to ask
Well,
me.
there's an ROI with any project.
I understand that, but I need to know how
Yeah.
quickly we're going to start seeing that.
Okay. Yeah.
To what extent? Because
sure.
it makes sense to me to put more money in
Yeah.
than getting back.
Good question. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you for that question. So the lighting itself saves $100,000. It's like 97,000 per year. So as soon as you install the lights, those savings start occurring because those watts are not being consumed. So the project itself gets financed over 15 to 18 years. It depends. It depends what you guys decide on after this meeting. So for lighting itself, we'll pay back in, I think it's like around 14 years. So if you have a loan for 18 years, you've got 4 years of lighting savings that can pay for other measures. So that is your drop ceilings. Do you understand?
Yeah, I still don't, that seems like an awful lot of money to pay in for 14 years to feel like you're paying in extra every year for 14
No.
years. Like, is that,
So the lighting is paying for itself, but the lighting is paying for the drop ceiling.
So how much extra every year are we paying? That's the bottom.
$2,000.
$2,000.
When do we start seeing that actual savings in our pocket where our numbers come down, our bills come down?
When your loan is paid off.
So in how many years is that?
Whatever term you decide, 15 to 18 years is common.
Years?
Yeah, it could be 2 years. Some of the year funds to pay it off. It's really up to us and the taxpayers.
I think the key is that we're going to be paying, I mean, like two to.
And how, I guess, and the other question is how many more phases? So how much more? I'm just trying to think realistically.
To us.
The longevity of a loan. Years. I'm just struggling with it. I can't wrap my head around it. It doesn't make sense to me. I've been trying to do my research and I've been trying to understand it, but I just can't.
I feel like
I can't wrap my head around it.
If it's, say it's just $5,000-6,000 extra a year. That's 0.5%, less than 0.5 percentage point on a budget like ours. It's minuscule. It's Post-its, right? But you're going to be paying all that money. If, let's say you chose not to do this project, right?
Mhm.
All the money that you'd be paying, you're paying anyway.
You're just giving Unitil.
Inefficient energy,
Right.
costs to Unitil, to whoever, right? So you're paying that inefficient electric cost. Or you can use the money that we're paying for the inefficiency, put it towards efficiency.
Right. And how long what is I think we asked this before, what is the life expectancy on these products that we're putting in? I felt like it wasn't much more than the loan. So then are we back at square one again? These are all questions I'm going to get asked. So I'm just trying to ask the questions.
Holly, what's the life expectancy?
So most lighting is under warranty for 10 years. And so that was what you would be supplied with. That's a manufacturer warranty, but it doesn't mean that's the housing of the light. You're bound to replace light bulbs after 10 years, but you wouldn't need to replace the fixture. So it's not like you would be throwing it out after 10 years. There's plenty of lights in this building that have been here for 20 years. You haven't replaced anything here. So that goes to show you the life that a light fixture can really hold on to. And just to add, we're retrofitting a lot of your light fixtures too. So it's not all new fixtures.
And in the quote also, it's not just lights, it's excuse me. It's building enveloping too. So like.
Yeah.
Question about that too.
Yeah. Or
So building envelope will be in your building until you bring it to the landfill. This is spray foam. So these products have long 50, 100-year life cycles. For weather stripping on doors is a little less, of course. So if that answers your question about, and the importance of doing air sealing at this beginning phase is that when you do put the investment into your HVAC equipment, all that nice heating and cooling that you're doing isn't leaving the building. So it's common to do this as a first phase lighting and building envelope combined together.
And are there any, and this is a Dan question, are there any building repairs that need to be done before the enveloping is done? Because I don't want to pay for the enveloping to $40,000 to then have to undo trim and then we have to fix the enveloping that was done.
Everything is structurally sound in all our buildings right now. Do what they're proposing. We wouldn't be moving it or touching it until we have a major remodel 50 years down the road. And even then, we probably wouldn't. What they are doing will never be touched. Tiny crevices above the roof line.
No, and I understand, but I just want to make sure we're not looking at like, well, we have trim that's falling off. I know we've talked about siding issues, and so I just want to make sure that we're not paying all this money to then have to do these other repairs.
Regular maintenance. Yeah, that's like. We have a facilities use revolving fund. We have a budget now for maintenance. And those are those are going to have to be done whether we do this or not.
No, and I understand that. I just want to make sure that we're not like, okay, in a couple of years, we're going to have to go do a major reside on a building and then that's messing with all the trim and everything. And all the
Yeah, that may happen.
And Rick, I just need you to understand, I haven't been part of this process for this long, so I just have a lot of questions.
Yeah, no,
I
I agree. They're good questions.
Wrapping my head around.
That siding may happen.
Right.
But
But I just want to
we
make
know
sure
that
that it isn't
depending on
something
this
that we're looking at a couple of years and we have to deal with something.
The siding on this building, the company's out of business and the siding that has been on most other buildings has predominantly failed. Dan, could happen tomorrow.
Right.
So
Oh,
I'm
and I'm
just saying,
saying,
like,
I just
yeah,
want to make
there's-
sure that we've, I just had questions.
Going back to the lighting really quick, and I don't want to take up much time here. But the other big savings too is my manpower. My guys are spending a lot of time on ladders now, replacing ballasts and light bulbs. When they go to this new LED lighting fixture, there's no more ballasts.
Right.
Each ballast, when you replace it, is about 30 to 50 bucks, depending on the ballast, and that's for each fixture. So we're eliminating ballasts within our lighting system also. So when they put in all these new lighting fixtures, theory, my guys won't have to be on a ladder for the next 5 to 10 years replacing a light bulb because that's how long their fixtures are going to last. So the manpower we're saving and the money that we're spending on replacing ballasts and light bulbs is also very significant.
And Don, the other way for people at home to understand it is right now, and I'm looking at our accounting system, we spend over $300,000 a year on electricity in the district. So 100,000 of that is going to be saved. It's not going to go to Unitil, but it's going to go initially to whoever's financing it. But we're going to end up with superior lighting, classrooms that need to be, you're not going to have like paper and stuff strewn over.
No, and I understand all that. I just know.
But I just want people to understand it at home too. Yeah.
Understand it to be able to explain it because trust me,
Yeah.
I'm going to get a lot of questions.
Oh, no,
Why are
absolutely.
we spending more money?
Facilities meeting, I was struggling similarly, and I was like, this $100,000 of quote unquote savings is never money that we could give back to taxpayers.
Right.
Right.
But I just feel like it's deceptive in how it's presented because it's a savings, but it's really not a savings to the tax. There is no savings. We're still paying the money.
It's a reallocation of the money that we
Yeah.
are spending to
Right.
a more efficient future.
Right.
We can't get out of spending it. That's the key.
Yep.
If we're not going to do it to this, we got to keep on throwing it.
Until the project is paid off.
Until the project is paid. What's up?
Thank you.
Key point there.
What'd you say, Dan?
We don't know what energy price.
Right.
So, we're going to be starting that.
Initially, it felt very like solar panel.
Right.
Right, but they really, when presented this way, it makes perfect sense,
Sorry, Heather just had us.
That's right.
Take a call.
It's also a budgetary known, right? So it's the same thing. Like I put solar panels on my house and I had the study done and I said, okay, this is how much I'm going to pay. This is what's going to be my return. And now I know what the payment is for the panels. That never changes. My electric bill used to go all crazy and I could never predict what it was going to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this is part of this as well. It's a predictable, this is how much it's going to be. Here's the guaranteed savings. And now we have some predictability in our budgeting.
The other thing too is that there's a lot of incentives right now through the government. Rebates go. And as you know, with this administration, who knows where these rebates are going to go? Most of them are probably going to dissolve. So once we sign on with them and we're in the queue to get this stuff done, those rebates will then be secured. And we can use that money for the project, because in another 6 months, a year from now, who knows where those government rebates are going to be.
I would add to that it's not only just a political situation that changes incentives, but LEDs have been around a while. So they're not incentivizing people as much because they're so common. So we've been thinking for the last few years that these incentives are eventually going to go away for lighting in a significant way.
All right, I won't tie this up any longer. I don't know that I am comfortable to make a decision tonight, so I may abstain from the vote because I still feel like I have some wrapping of my head to do. But I'm happy to have the rest of the board.
If you want to have a separate call or any questions that you have coming in from taxpayers, like please forward them to us. And I mean, this is what we do for a living, right? Like we're happy to answer any questions, explain in any which. I'm a visual learner. I'm with you. Like I don't know that I would understand it off the second, third meeting. It's taken me 5 years. That's how long I've been here. So, you know, I think there's some value in what you're saying. There's a lot of value in what you're saying as far as like, you know, you want to get everyone on board. You want to make sure that, you know, what you're agreeing to is beneficial for everyone, right? And everyone has questions. So we're happy to help and jump. We have a bi-weekly meeting with Dan and Matt just to answer any of their questions for this entire process. So you're not alone.
Matt, can you, before we make a motion, can you get us the current number? So looking at our spreadsheet right here, we removed those couple of items. Can you get us the number that we would be adjusting based on removing the 2 fire suppression systems?
Talking end of year.
Nope. No. So on the Siemens Customer Solutions tool, they gave us the total Siemens project size, but we adjusted it based on our subcommittee meeting. Now 4.5 hours ago. Maybe 5.
There's a trooper saying.
I'm losing track. Yeah.
Just about.
That's your bedtime?
Yeah.
3.5.
Okay.
That's my bedtime.
Okay, here
Does
we
that make
go.
sense what I'm asking?
Yep. No, I was thinking it was a locked PDF and not an interactive spreadsheet.
Oh, I thought it was a PDF.
It is a PDF. I think
Yeah,
he's.
it's locked on my end.
It's locked. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you just remove, like add those 2 up and remove it? Yep. That's all I'm looking for.
You're looking for the total project size?
Yep. Cause that's what we're going to want to, right, Rick?
Yep.
Total
Yep.
phase 1 project size.
Yep.
As a maximum, right?
Yep.
Yep.
As a starting maximum. I'll start yawning out loud. Golly.
Optimism. Why are you cute?
Yeah.
He's adorable.
So
Looks like it's 1,908,335. Oh, sorry, 235.
Can you say that number again?
Yeah.
1,908,235.
You had to make a motion.
But was that? Well, actually, I didn't take the ceiling out. Ceiling's coming out too, not just fire. Sorry.
Right, but that's small. So again, we're talking maximum, right?
Right,
So that can
maximum.
still come out under the maximum.
Right.
Which we expect to be low.
And
Which is 73. So it's actually.
Right. Yep.
So you got this?
Yeah, I got them.
No, it's this one here. 1 million.
Did you have something, Mike?
Yep. I forgot about the.
I was gonna belabor the point
Okay.
about how the cost of that project, 1,800,000 and whatever. $5,000 sounds like you guys are saying you're gonna shell out 1 million, almost $2 million for this project. No, what we're saying is we were going to be spending $2 million in energy costs over the next however many years anyway. Regardless, nobody can do anything about that. So we're choosing to spend them smarter. That's it.
Exactly.
With new updated fixtures, longevity, efficiency for the future, et cetera. Right. No way of getting out of spending that $2 million. Let's spend it better.
I'm with John. I'm still having a hard time like wrapping my head. That's a big number.
Well, it is, but think about it. It's, what do we?
No,
spend
but
on-
you guys have had a lot of time. to
300 and some thousand.
Yeah.
Like
Spend,
2 weeks later, we're back here and like, we're still trying to understand it.
like Matt said, we
It's just a
spend
lot.
$300,000 a year. on
Plus.
electricity.
Yeah.
So like over, what do we say?
15 years, that's 4 million.
Thank you. $4.5 million over 15 years on electricity. We already are going to spend that. It's already factored in. Can't get, we got to turn the lights on.
Not more.
If not more.
That's
Yeah, it
today's
could go
rates.
up. That's today's rates. So
I'm not saying I disagree with this project. I'm just saying I don't feel like I'm educated enough to make a good decision tonight. That's all.
So then what can we do to all be in that spot? Because I'll be honest with you, Don, we haven't had much more than you have. We got all the same big meetings with them,
Yeah.
and we've talked about it, I think, for 2 30-minute sessions. Like, it hasn't been a ton either. You know what I mean? But I get it. There are further questions. So what would you feel more comfortable with? Because I'm not comfortable with half the board
Yeah, I don't want you to
abstaining. You know what I mean? Like, we either all are going to move forward together on this. I mean, this is district facilities, or we're not, right?
Right.
So
I mean, it's up to, if somebody wants to make a motion and move it forward that way, they can. If we want to, we've talked about having a meeting in 2 weeks, if we want to do it then. Just have a little more time to really like process and have more conversations.
okay.
It's up to you guys. I'm just telling you where I'm at.
Yep.
That's all. That's
Sure. So you have more questions, Heather? How about you? You have more questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So what I like,
You know, like,
I'm comfortable with it, and I know that you guys have done. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I
so if
I
it's not-
kind I part of me like understands the hesitation of putting more money into something that we truthfully don't like. Like I said earlier, we have people that want us to close the school down and go to Pinkerton. So from like that aspect, I understand that hesitancy. But I get the general gist of it. I'm okay with it. And I think the fact that you three, are comfortable with it, I think that makes me comfortable with this.
and if that in mind, it's an upgrade to the facility.
Well, right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
if anybody looked
Yeah,
at
we
this
haven't
thing,
even-
it would be like, oh, I got a
And we still, Dan made the good point about the labor savings on the guys getting on ladders and stuff. So, and yeah, you guys have, it's guaranteed savings. So we're expecting it to be more. And then you throw in what Dan said with the labor. Like I feel comfortable.
Okay.
But if you two are not comfortable, then I would just suggest maybe you get your questions, Siemens people.
Yeah.
Within the next 2 weeks and then you can get them answered. We'll have a revised quote from you probably in a few days.
I think what I'd like to see is maybe the notes from the finance. Maybe I'll watch the video, get a little bit more.
Good idea.
Yeah, I
Video and that sheet is what you'll.
yeah.
Yeah.
probably be okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And then we'll get the revised
Does that
quote.
work for you, Don?
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry that you came out and. It's
all right.
Sorry.
You like the presentation as well too?
I have the presentation.
I was gonna say, we have the presentation.
I would just like to watch the most recent finance facilities and then kind of review this spreadsheet a little bit.
Yeah.
To be transparent, I got 12 emails from constituents today and I spent more time responding to the community members than really going through some of the other stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, there've been a few other fires.
And if you have any specific questions, and we get them directly to you, or how do we?
I would just say
Yeah.
directly. Yeah, email them.
I don't know if I have their email. but I can
yeah.
David and Matt.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
CC me, please.
I don't really, for me, I don't really have questions about the project itself. I have more questions about the savings.
Yeah.
Finance, like I'm looking at it from a finance, like
Right.
to say to my Newton constituents,
Yeah.
where I just said we are eliminating certain teachers.
Right. Cuts.
Like,
Yep.
I want to make sure that I have all my ducks in a
Sure.
row.
Part of that's probably Matt's discussion too, because line items don't match up like that.
Yeah.
You can't take teacher salary money and pay for the
no.
building.
Yeah.
Right?
Pay for electricity either.
Doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work like that.
Can't cut electric.
A red apple and a green apple.
No, I get that. But to taxpayers, it's all one lump sum. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So-
Then Ava and Colin, you can give me the revised number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We eliminate those things. Yeah.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patience.
All right, second public comment. All right. Next meeting of the Sanborn Regional School Board will take place on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the library at the Sanborn Regional High School. Would someone like to call us into non-public?
I make a motion to move us into non-public RSA 91-A 7:3 Roman numeral 2 CB.
Second.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, we were asleep on that one.
Roll call in.
Yes.
Micah.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Myself. Yes. Heather.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in moving.
Thanks for,